If you're a fan of the inner workings of Hollywood, then check out my podcast, The Town, on the Ringer Podcast Network. My name's Matt Bellany. I'm a founding partner at Puck and the writer of the What I'm Hearing newsletter. And with my show, The Town, I bring you the inside conversation about money and power in Hollywood. Every week, we've got 3 short episodes featuring real Hollywood insiders to tell you what people in town are actually talking about. We'll cover everything from why your favorite show was canceled overnight, which streamer is on the brink of collapse, and which executive is on the hot seat. Disney, Netflix, who's up, down, and who'll never eat lunch in this town again. Follow The Town on Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts.
Welcome to the Ringer Fantasy Football Show. My name is Danny Heifetz, and I'm joined by Danny Kelly and Craig Horlbeck. And here is a list of things that have happened since we last recorded an episode. The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup. The Oklahoma City Thunder won the NBA Finals. Tyrese Halliburton tore his Achilles, probably because we jinxed him.
Our bad there.
Yeah, that was probably our fault. There was a 7-team trade in the NBA. The Los Angeles Lakers were sold for allegedly $10 billion. Anna Wintour stepped down at Vogue. LeBron James started playing golf. Taylor Swift went to Tight End University and sang with George Kittle at a Nashville bar. Pablo Torre and Mike Florio did an episode saying the NFL colluded to reduce guarantees in NFL contracts. We went to war with Iran. Selena Gomez released Selena Gomez Oreos, but her face is curiously not on the Oreos.
I like you pairing those back to back. War with Iran, Selena Gomez Oreos.
It is the absurdity of where we are in the world.
USC got a recruit named Booby Feaster.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow could not throw a baseball.
Yeah.
Oh, are we doing this again? Oh,
Alvin Kamara couldn't throw a baseball. Alvin Kamara, the first pitch, bounced it and then asked for the ball back and got it, which is actually kind of a power move. Craig went to Italy. Found out this week they're re-releasing Backyard Baseball 2001 this week. Found that out. But most importantly of all those things, the biggest thing that happened since we last recorded is we have a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
That's straight. It is at Ringer FFS. Had to make sure I got that right. But you can just search the Ringer Fantasy Football Show on YouTube. It'll pop up. Link in the bio. Link in the description of this episode. Yeah, we finally have our own home to post all our little videos. And we'll be coming at you twice a week starting next week. We'll be with you all the way through the season. All that fun stuff, all in one place. Subscribe, link in the description. Heifetz, are we going to tease people, give them ways to subscribe, incentivize their subscription? Are we going to give out
So
T-shirts? What are we going to do?
We didn't confirm this. Should we just say it on the show?
Yeah,
I don't think we've actually talked about this with DK. You and I all right, we're just going to say it.
Yeah.
A lot of people wanted the old intro music back because we used to have a longer intro. I'll spare everyone the mechanisms of why it changed. I will just leave it at this. If we hit, what number are we going to say, Craig?
10K.
If we hit 10,000 subscribers to the YouTube channel, we will bring the old full intro music back.
Tell your friends, tell your family. It's imperative.
And which, again,
go subscribe.
We didn't get rid of that because we didn't like it. It's kind of a tech reason that, again, like Ivan said, it's too boring to get into, but we are willing to figure that out.
We're going to figure it out.
If we get to 10,000 subscribers.
So go subscribe if you want the old intro music back. Go to the YouTube, hit subscribe.
Also, if you subscribe, DK will Venmo you $1.
Yes, that's also a fact. And he said it out loud, so that's legally binding, DK. Okay, so the other thing I want to let people know is we are going to do a live show in New York City.
Yeah,
we've never done a live show in New York. Actually, Danny Kelly's never been to New York, which is incredible.
I'm going to be like Borat in New York. I'm just going to be looking at everything.
You're going to wake up at like 5
wonder.
a.m. in some Brooklyn bar with your pants off, no idea what happened. I'm very excited about it.
So it's going to be incredible.
So this is our first live show in New York City, and we'll be at the Gramercy Theater in Manhattan. The live show's on Tuesday, August 19th. I will say that one more time. Tuesday, August 19th is the day of the show. But frankly, more importantly, tickets go on sale this Wednesday. So this Wednesday, July 9th at 10 a.m. Eastern time. You hear that, TK? 10 a.m. Eastern time.
7 a.m. for the West Coasters?
Who's up? Who's up at 7 a.m. on the West Coast?
Are you flying from the West Coast to East Coast? If you are,
Fair.
maybe, it's 10 a.m. Eastern time. This Wednesday, July 9th.
Yeah.
10 a.m. Eastern. Tickets are going to be live at theringer.com/events. But
Get
Craig
them while they're
hates URLs. So theringer.com/events is Kai's going to toss that in the episode description.
Another link in the episode description. Also, you cannot attend our live show unless you are a YouTube subscriber. We will check.
We'll be checking.
You will be denied at the door.
We have ways to figure that out. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But yeah. So you go to that link. That link, I don't know if the information for the show is up at this exact moment of time, but by Wednesday, it absolutely will be there for you to go and get the tickets, buy them there. And if you want to go, I would recommend doing it, frankly, as close to 10 a.m. as you possibly can. So, yeah, that'll be really fun. And that'll be cool. And yeah, it'll be great. We're going to put DK in front of the Sparrow, like Michael Scott in The Office.
What a great New York pizzeria.
Yeah, I feel like we do what we only have like probably 1 to 2. We only have time for probably 1 to 2 touristy things.
Going to the place with the greatest cup of coffee, the world's best cup of coffee. I'm definitely going there.
You did it.
Congrats.
That is actually a good list of New Yorkers saying, what are the touristy things worth doing? My gut is, I think McSorley's is worth it. I love that bar. But there's
Great
1,000 things to do in New York City, literally. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, email us at New York.
Like Statue of Liberty, I'm like,
Do you know
top
I've
of the Empire
never
State
done
Building? You've never done it?
No, but Ellis Island, it's like modern immigration was invented at Ellis Island, and I've never been. It's like an hour away. Yeah, get the tickets for the live show if you want to go to the New York show. Go subscribe to the YouTube. Today, what we're going to do in the show today is we're going to go through all the players on new teams. Because, frankly, I think, like, this is really the beginning of us prepping for the season because it's July 7th. We're recording this. Dude, the Chargers just show up to training camp, like, next week. NFL teams are reporting to camp in 2 weeks. The Chargers are in the Hall of Fame game. So the end of next week, they're just in camp, which is crazy. And I think at the beginning of the prep, you have to start at the beginning. And I don't know about you guys, but every single time I watch any sport, the beginning of the year, my first reaction is always, that guy's on this team? Like Deebo Samuel is on Washington?
This episode is like the episode for you having a conversation with your dad, getting ready for the NFL season. It's like, Deebo Samuel's where? That's what this episode's for.
Dude, Drew Holiday's on the Trailblazers.
Darren Waller? The NFL?
Yeah.
Darren Waller, the rapper?
We should make that. That's going to be the no context.
Recent news events, Craig. Jeff Epstein, the New York financier? Him? Jeff Epstein?
So, okay.
Do you want to start with Waller?
You said Jeff Epstein. My mind went blank. What were we doing next? I don't know. So
also, I've never heard somebody call him Jeff.
Jeff, like he's
Jeff Epstein?
I think
how close were you?
That's how the joke went.
Oh my God. So anyway, we're going to go through all the players on new teams and which ones we think have a big impact and which ones we think matter or not. And this was inspired by the other thing that happened while we were gone, which is a trade, which was a funny trade between the Steelers and Dolphins that broke pretty hilariously because Jalen Ramsey just posted or whatever that he was going to be on the Steelers. And then Carlos was telling us, Carlos is not on the show today, but Carlos is saying that his group chat blew up because his Steelers friends were like, wow, Minkah Fitzpatrick, Jalen Ramsey, what a secondary. And then 30 minutes later, it turned out Minkah Fitzpatrick was in the trade going to Miami. So the trade ultimately ended up being the Steelers got Jalen Ramsey from Miami. They got Jonnu Smith, the tight end, and they got a 7th rounder 2 years away. And the Dolphins got Minkah Fitzpatrick at safety and a 5th rounder 2 years away. So it's like a 5th, 7th round swap. Who cares? So Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith for Minkah Fitzpatrick, basically. Craig, Steelers fan, I'm sure you have a more nuanced take, cope, whatever now, but what was your first reaction when you saw this trade?
I was like, the Steelers are doing so much work to be kind of the exact same level of good.
Right.
I'm like, man, maybe the win total was like 9, and now after all this entire offseason, now it's like 9.5. Which I guess is okay. I was a little surprised to see Minkah Fitzpatrick go. I think all things considered, he was the beloved Steeler inside the locker room. He's obviously a great player, not a headache of a player. Jalen Ramsey, kind of adding him to the mix with DK Metcalf, who I don't know if anybody knows this. They're not huge fans of one another. I was a little surprised by that. And then the Jonnu Smith thing. I think the sweetener of Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey for Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think ultimately is a win for the Steelers. Now Jonnu Smith and Arthur Smith are back together once again. Long lost lovers, the two of them. This is their 3rd team now. They'll be on together.
Rekindling.
But I don't know. Doesn't it kind of feel like when you look at the Steelers roster right now versus like 12 months ago, you're like, I guess it's better a little bit, but man, they did a lot of work to be a little bit better.
So Jackie's family is, she's from Pittsburgh, all Steelers fans. Her brother sent me a meme of 2024 Steelers, and they just like stepped on a rake and it hit them in the face. And then he sent me, and the next panel was like them doing all these skateboard tricks and like a 360, 720 around a railing, and then they get to the bottom of the staircase, and then the rake just hits them in the face, and it's 9-8 again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I just think that's to your point, I think it's all the same. The defensive part I want to come back to in a second, but DK, what do you make of Jonnu Smith and Arthur Smith on the Steelers? What do you think of the offensive part of the Steelers adding Jonnu Smith?
That's a great question. Obviously, he does make them better, I think, offensively. Like, he's a dynamic player, run after the catch. He can be utilized in the screen game. Obviously, I think Arthur Smith knows how to use him well, and there's already talk that he's going to be a fullback, a receiver, a tight end, a slot, like basically use him all over the formation. A movable chess piece, if you will.
A joker.
Yeah, a joker in that offense.
For those who didn't hear that episode, actually the funniest thing maybe to consider all year was when Riley McAtee gave you the note that all chess pieces move.
Yeah. I was like, well, shit. I've been saying this for about 4 years now. But yeah, I think, obviously from the Dolphins' point of view, they didn't want to pay Jonnu Smith because he's 29. He was asking for a big contract. He was sitting out off-season workouts looking for a new deal. And clearly he had outplayed his contract last year. If you look at some of the numbers, he is on a 2-year contract with the Dolphins before this. $8 million over 2 years with basically $4 million guaranteed. No guaranteed money left in his contract this year. So I don't actually blame Jonnu Smith for like wanting to hold out, get a new deal. Looking at what he did the last year, 4th in the NFL in targets, catches, and yards, 2nd in touchdowns with 8. So
the most yards any tight end has had in Dolphins history, and he was getting paid. Was he even the top 30 in money at tight end this year?
Yeah. He was 23rd in guaranteed money going into the season and 32nd in average among tight ends, and he's
29-30. So it's like, this is probably his last time to get paid.
So
frankly, Jalen Ramsey's the same situation as he wanted to get paid too, because it's probably his last big deal.
So like, if you're wondering what the hell are the Dolphins doing, I think that's kind of the answer. Is just like, they didn't want to pay 29-year-old tight end, big money. And Jonnu Smith clearly wanted that money. It makes sense to have Smith go and be sort of like the number 2, number 3 option in the Steelers offense now. So Craig, from your point of view, what does this do for Freiermuth? Is like Freiermuth non-usable in fantasy now? Probably. I'll be curious to see kind of like how the target rate gets kind of split.
Yeah, I mean, I would say this hurts his fantasy value. This is a good real football move, bad fantasy move for Pat Freiermuth. I mean, the Steelers now have 3 usable tight ends, which is that's where the NFL is going. It's like using tight ends to kind of disguise whether you're running or passing, having guys who can both block and run routes. Having Darnell Washington, Jonnu Smith, and Pat Freiermuth, I think, is like a good thing for the Steelers in this offense and for what Arthur Smith wants to do. But yeah, it definitely hurts Freiermuth.
So the other thing I meant to mention here is the Steelers gave him a 1-year, $12 million extension, according to Adam Schefter. So he got a big raise going on this trade as well.
The Steelers are still lining everything up for the 2026 draft. They brought Darius Slay in on a 1-year deal. I don't think they wanted to give Minkah Fitzpatrick another huge deal, which was
they didn't want to re-sign Pickens, right?
They didn't want to re-sign Pickens, but I mean, they still paid that money to DK Metcalf. But I think the Steelers are, obviously with Aaron Rodgers probably retiring after this year, you have Slay, you have Jonnu Smith. I do think, and the Steelers also in this trade for Jalen did not give up anything from 2026. Those are 2027 picks that were exchanged. So the Steelers are still lining up to kind of go for it in the 26 draft. I think it's getting a little overblown, to be honest, about like the Steelers are going to get their quarterback in 26. It's like, relax. They have 1 first-round pick and 1 second-round pick.
Who's been saying that? Who has been going around saying the Steelers are going to quarterback next year?
I think they're gearing up. That is the narrative they're trying to get out there, but it's like they mainly have a bunch of 3rd and 4ths, and it's like, okay, it takes a lot to get up into the top 10. And if the Steelers are at all decent this year, they're not going to have a top 10 pick.
I can't wait for Carlos to add this to the list of things where you're just like the 5 stages. Craig's like, we're getting a quarterback next year. And then he's like, I don't know who's saying we'll get a quarterback next year.
Look, I think we're probably going to get like the 4th or 5th best quarterback in the class unless they really make a Godfather offer that I guess they could do. I'm curious about what you guys think about the Minkah for Jalen thing. And I don't think they have liked the way Minkah has fit in the defense in the last few years. Minkah has 1 interception over the last 2 seasons. And do you guys think, because there are talks about Jalen playing safety versus corner and how that's going to work. Jalen's 30 years old now. I'm curious what you guys think about the defensive move there.
So the irony is that this happened 6 years ago when the Steelers traded for Minkah Fitzpatrick from Miami, which is who drafted Minkah out of Alabama. And so at the time, Minkah Fitzpatrick was a cornerback, and the Steelers made him a safety. And Minkah Fitzpatrick made 3 first-team All-Pros as a safety, including, I believe, that season. So in a way, the Steelers getting Jalen Ramsey is like, is he going to be cornerback? Is he going to play the Minkah role? All this stuff. But in terms of why did they do that? Minkah's 2 years younger than Jalen Ramsey. I think it's really simple. I think they got sick of him. I think that Minkah Fitzpatrick, I would quibble with what you said in the beginning where Jalen Ramsey's locker room issue, but Minkah Fitzpatrick's beloved. I'm like, I don't think so anymore. I think that he wore thin. Obviously, the Steelers had a bunch of defensive issues at the end of last season.
I think he was liked amongst his teammates less than he was his coaches, I think.
Well, so I'm just going to read you a bunch of quotes from the Steelers at the end of the season. I'll read you 2. Remember the Steelers, again, among other things, that they what did the Steelers finish down the stretch? 0-6, and they gave up 500 rushing yards to the Ravens in their last two games.
Yeah.
So Deshaun Elliott, who was a safety on the Steelers last year, at the end of December, said, first off, guys can't be fucking wide open. That's the first thing. Do your job. I feel like we communicated. Guys just weren't doing their freaking job. Get back to the drawing board. It's week 18. We shouldn't be having these problems in week 18. It's a week 2 problem. Then Cam Hayward, same day, said, when 10 guys do their job and one guy doesn't, we're screwed. Now, nobody named the guy as Minkah Fitzpatrick. However, the guy was Minkah Fitzpatrick. Like you talk about the defensive breakdowns on the Steelers defense at the end of the year. There were a lot of things. They couldn't stop the run. I would say that there's, frankly, Tomlin's scheme, I think, is a little behind the curve.
Yeah.
You
could say
a lot of talk about them being super predictable, right?
Yeah, they're predictable. They're a predictable team. However, Minkah Fitzpatrick was also not executing, which is bad when he's your safety. So I think that it just needed, everyone needed a change of scenery involved in this deal. Jonnu Smith has breaking Dolphins tight end records and is like outside the top 30 in money. Jalen Ramsey still thinks of himself as, frankly, the best defensive player in football. No one's going to pay him. And Minkah Fitzpatrick, everyone on the Steelers is like pissed at him. And it's like, you know what? This kind of, in a way, satisfies everyone's short-term needs, where the Steelers are like, well, maybe Jalen Ramsey could be a better version of Minkah, better than he was last year. Jonnu Smith makes us multiple at tight end, and Jonnu allows the Steelers to play in 12 and 30, like 2 or 3 tight ends on the field in a way that we actually have more receiving juice, not less, with the tight ends. And then Miami probably gets a new start. I think the Dolphins, they have the defensive coordinator, Anthony Weaver, who is in Baltimore. Minkah Fitzpatrick, maybe he could play safety, something closer to like what Weaver had Kyle Hamilton in Baltimore. I think everyone gets their short-term back scratched, but I still think everyone's going to have chicken pox at the end of this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think there's any long-term solutions here. Like, I think the Steelers I think both these teams are going to go 9-8, miss the playoffs.
Yeah, it's like I literally think everything the Steelers have done is the difference between them going 9-8 versus 10-7. And maybe now I'm leaning towards 10-7.
Yeah.
You could argue that's a lot in the NFL, Craig.
True. That could be the difference between the playoffs and not.
And that's the thing. I mean, and again, what we're doing, we're going to go through the rest of all these players and new teams, but we might as well just start with the Steelers and fold this into one conversation, where the Steelers added Aaron Rodgers and DK Metcalf.
It's fun just to be in the mix, I got to say. The Steelers are always so boring. Like, all of this work just to basically have the same team skill-wise, at the very least, has been entertaining, and I'm enjoying being the talk of the offseason.
Well, don't you feel
we
like
won the offseason.
But don't you feel like this is a return to like 5 years ago, when Roethlisberger couldn't move but had to throw all the time, and Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown were like doing crazy shit, and it's like, you're back.
Are you saying complimentary we're back, or derogatory we're back?
Derogatory.
Okay. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair, I would say. I think the talent level is better now than it was 5 years ago, I think, on this team.
I mean, I guess that just depends when Antonio Brown went off the deep end. But either way, I guess I just look at it this way. I think the Steelers, I'll put $1 in the Warriors jar, but the Steelers have 2 timelines where they're acting like Cam Hayward. I mean, it's just a weird team. Aaron Rodgers is the oldest quarterback in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Like
42?
by a few years.
41.
Going on 42.
But Flacco is second. He's like 38. And then so you have
Flacco.
Cam Hayward. Cam Hayward's like the 3rd oldest defensive lineman in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's got a podcast.
Yeah, and that's true. Yeah. TJ Watt's 30, about to be 31, and wants a new deal, and they're saying, oh, maybe they'll trade him. It's like, but then you have Darius Slay is going to be your starting outside quarterback. Darius Slay is the 2nd oldest quarterback in the NFL.
He's 34.
By a lot.
Yep.
He's 34. Do you know? I think
which is like 98 in cornerback years.
Yep.
No, I looked it up because I was trying to because I was like, how old is that? Last season, if you count what guys who turned 30 by week 1, there were 7 in the entire NFL last year that played like 300 snaps.
30?
7 guys in their 30s.
That's not even
really?
like a high bar.
7 guys?
No, I'm cheating because like Jalen Ramsey turned 30 like in October, so he doesn't count, but that's the deadline, just week 1. Mm-hmm. But 7 guys were 30 or older on week 1 of last year at cornerback that played like actual snaps.
And there's like 90 to 100 that play like significant snaps at least.
Darius Slay's 34.
Yep.
So anyway, you have these crazy old guys on the Steelers like Darius Slay and Cam Hayward and Rodgers. Robert Woods is the 6th oldest receiver in the NFL. He's going to start for you. Mm-hmm. And then the flip side is all these young guys who haven't played yet. You have Zach Frazier from last year's draft class, was incredible. All your other rookies got no playing time. Like Troy Fautanu barely played from injury. Roman Wilson barely played from injury. They're guys who fell in the draft because of injuries. Like it's a strange thing going on in Pittsburgh. And it's almost weird because they're acting like they have to get Hayward and Watt a ring. But frankly, I just think that there's something that smells like desperation with all of these moves.
Well, you know what happened when the Warriors went 2 timelines? They won a ring. So
I said this in the group chat. What the Steelers are doing this offseason reminds me a little bit of what we saw the Buccaneers do last year, which was everyone was like, they need to blow it up and get on with like the rebuild and stop pretending like they're good and, you know, just kind of like accept reality and whatever and move on. And because they were like re-signing all these old veterans, like I think they extended Mike Evans. There was all this stuff. And then ultimately they ended up being pretty good. Like, you know, they won the division. They won 10 games. They're an exciting team to watch. Maybe this is like what the Steelers can become.
And the Bucs
too.
did it again. They literally brought back all 11 starters again this year.
But like I remember making fun of the Buccaneers last offseason. Is like, what are they doing? What do they don't know what they are. You know what I mean? Like, so
I still think though,
similar.
it's like the Steelers have to be doing this. I mean, I guess they could have just started the season with Mason Rudolph, fully tanked, traded TJ Watt. I guess they could have done that.
Yeah.
I think everybody would have been pissed in Pittsburgh if they did that. I think this 1-year experiment with Rodgers where maybe it'll work out. I mean, it's obviously very slim chance, but like they are putting things in place to go for it this year. And if it doesn't work, you can kind of reset next year.
Totally.
I still think they're doing a decent job at that, I would say, at least on paper.
I can't wait for Carlos to clip another video of
I'm
you.
talking speculatively about what they are doing in the front office offseason wise, and I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, it's
again, what should they have done? What are we going to say? If they're 3-5, are we going to be like the Steelers should have just started Mason Rudolph and traded TJ Watt? Is that what we're going to say?
NFL teams just don't do that, really.
Heifetz, is that what you think they should have done?
No, they should. You don't trade TJ Watt. The point of money in football is not to trade TJ Watt.
Yeah.
No. It's it makes sense, but let's see him execute. And also, I frankly, I just want Tomlin to come in. Like, I would love Jalen Ramsey to be used in a more interesting way. Like, I just hope the Steelers kind of like adapt what they're doing on defense.
Yeah.
Dolphins, I think we mostly hit it. I will just say that Storm Duck is slated to now start a cornerback for the Dolphins probably this season.
Storm's coming.
Storm
Think
Duck.
about Craig going, what if your daughter came home from, where did he go again? Oregon? I forget. I know.
Oregon,
I always
yeah.
think
I think he
Oregon
did.
because of Duck. It was not Oregon. It was some other. It was like an East Coast team, whatever.
Oh, yeah, wait. What am I he went
like
to
North Carolina or South Carolina. What was it?
Louisville in North Carolina.
Oh,
He
man, I was
transferred.
way off. Craig was like, what? Imagine if your daughter goes off to college.
Dad, I met this great guy.
Comes home.
He's so funny, sweet, treats me well.
Oh, yeah. What's his name?
Storm Duck. I'd be like, nope.
Better than the last one, Booby Feaster.
Duck.
Booby Feaster. Man, that guy has a lot of options for his touchdown dance.
Hold on. I made something for you guys because of Booby Feaster. This is two active college football players and a lie. Inspired by Booby Feaster.
These parents are just trolling people at this point.
Dude,
Like, they know.
So wait, I'm gonna read you 3 names. One of them I made up.
Okay.
Rutgers has a left tackle named Terrence Salami.
Okay.
Boston College has a running back named Turbo Richard.
Turbo Dick.
Illinois has a wide receiver named Hans Mann, but it's Hans like German, so it's Hans Man, like MANN, Hans Man.
The Germans say it hands?
Well, no, it's Hans.
You're saying
it's
we
Hans.
say hands.
Yeah, but you said it was his receiver named Hans Man.
Couldn't have made that up. I don't think.
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say the second one is fake.
Turbo Dick.
If I have to pick, I guess I gotta say the second one.
They're all real.
I'm sure they're all
no,
real.
I made up Hans Man.
Oh, what?
Oh.
Wow. Good creativity.
Yeah. All right, anyway, yeah. Shout out to Booby Feaster and
Shout
Storm
out Booby
Duck.
Feaster. What will he do when he scores a touchdown? The world will be watching.
Yeah. Okay. Let's get to all the other players and new teams again. Just recapping what the hell happened in the offseason because it's just hard to keep track of sometimes because it was just July 4th. So going to go through these.
And how are we doing this?
I think we're just doing, you want to call it, it's just trust or bust, right? It's like gun to your head. It's July. Like, do you actually think this is going to work or not? And right. To get situations have busts.
Yeah.
But we're not
I always
gonna,
like saying bust for when it's not going to work out. Unlike you guys who get really uptight about it.
You do love saying bust.
Yeah, you do.
They're going to bust.
No, that's not, that doesn't, you can't do that.
Like, instinctively react to that. Anyway,
Yes.
let's do it. Let's play
right,
trust or
so-
bust.
Rodgers, we just talked about everything with the Steelers, but I guess just real life fantasy wise, do we think Rodgers and DK Metcalf works in Pittsburgh?
Like, no. Feels like they're opposites, but
Right.
maybe. I don't know.
I think no. Also, I'm going to say bust.
Rodgers needs like a Davante Adams, this like technician, and they have this like back shoulder connection. And it feels like DK Metcalf is like a little bit looser, kind of figures it out,
Played
runs
on
deep.
vibes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know how that's going to work with Rodgers, but we'll see.
They're going to have enough good vibes and enough moments that we will talk ourselves into it in flashes, but they'll like become bros and they're not going to like each other by the end of it.
Well, it's only 1 year. All we need them
That's
to
true.
just get along for 1 year.
So, all right. So we don't think it's going to work. Great.
Great.
Then that's so fun. So then going to Dallas there because the Steelers traded for DK Metcalf, but then they flipped George Pickens to Dallas a few days after the draft, actually. So the Dallas is George Pickens at receiver and Javonte Williams at running back. DK, you're more of a unbiased party here. Do you think George Pickens in Dallas is going to work?
I'm fairly confident that it's going to work. I think obviously the question mark is whether he's going to be mature enough to make it work or if he's just going to self-destruct, which is certainly possible. But I think from a
You
talent
talking about
point of
Rodgers
view-
or George Pickens? We moved on.
talking about George Pickens. Basically every report that we've seen out of Cowboys OTAs and practices is like Pickens is tearing it up and is in the eyes of all the beat reporters like the perfect fit for what the Cowboys absolutely needed. And then also when you add in just the fact that like the Cowboys offense couldn't be further from the Steelers offense over the last few years in terms of just, and I saw this from Pat Thorman on X, the Cowboys are top 10 since like over the last 4 years. The Cowboys are top 10 in points, plays, pace, no huddle rate, neutral pass rate, pass yards, and they're top 10 in total plays and points, basically. And on the other hand, the Steelers are not. And Pickens has played with a bunch of dog shit quarterbacks over his years. Dak is a good quarterback who's going to distribute the ball, play with accuracy. He might not be the greatest quarterback of all time, but he's way better than anybody Pickens has played with, basically. And I'll add into that, I saw this. Matt Harmon posted this, I think, last week. He did the reception perception, which it analyzes his route running, his ability to get open against press and man and zone and all that. And according to Harmon, Pickens had career best marks in success rate versus man coverage, success rate versus press. He was significantly improved on film over what he's done in his career. So I think he's still ascending. Pickens is still an ascending player. And I always thought he was pretty talented. So it all just comes down to, and this is not saying anything new, but it all just comes down to whether he can like not self-destruct.
Not show up an hour late to the game
Right.
a week after Mike Tomlin said he needed to be more mature.
Yeah, that's a good example of what he shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I kind of see this whole situation as like Schrodinger's Pickens, where I'm like, he is both a disaster and a huge success right now in my mind. And I think I do lean towards DK's optimism, where like he's off-brand T. Higgins. And DK, that one you mentioned the neutral pass rate. The Cowboys were 3rd last year. The Steelers were 25th. And like with Dak, I do think Pickens is like extremely talented, and I do think that his antics get in the way of that. But man, like he probably made like 5 of the best 20 catches last year alone.
Dude,
like,
yeah, it was like every
George
week we were
Pickens.
talking about it. Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think there's a world in which he's just like Michael Gallup 3.0, and he's awesome. But you have to factor in games where CeeDee Lamb has 14 targets and George Pickens has 4. And is he going to be like DJ Mooring it and walking off the field halfway through the play? I don't know.
Right.
But I think I lean with to the optimistic side.
I also increasingly I think there's DK's put me onto this years ago, and I think we actually should come up with a name and talk about it more, where the instincts of the division rival fans are usually probably better than most people.
They're just more revealing of what they're closer to the truth, I feel like, usually.
And as a Giants fan, I actually think that the Cowboys have become so easy to make fun of that sometimes when they make a good move, it's actually easy to forget. You're like, oh, this is going to work. And like the Cowboys have paid too much in the past for guys they had big draft grades on. They paid too much for, Jonathan Mingo last year, and Javonte Williams even is a running back is a weird addition. But adding Tyler Booker at guard and George Pickens on offense is like the 2 biggest problems they had together fixed.
And
Like
you're
Pickens
like,
is the
damn.
best. Yeah, like the best number 2. Every box
Outside
you
of
want
running
checked.
back, yeah.
Yeah, running back, this should be fixed. But as someone who wants the Cowboys to fail, I'd way rather them have added a cool running back and not fix their offensive line.
Right.
Like they can get a running back whenever they want, but Tyler Booker's going to kick the shit out of people. Think they're going to be a more physical team. And then Pickens, I don't like that Pickens is going to a place where I think Dak Prescott's the kind of quarterback that actually will help him. Like, he's a more mature guy. I also increasingly worry if Brian Schottenheimer, who Jerry Jones renamed as just the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys, I kind of increasingly am kind of like, fuck, what if Schottenheimer just does a good job? You know what I mean? Like, what if Schottenheimer's just a good coach? There's something like, fine. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm a little worried the Cowboys offense is going to be, as it usually is, weirdly underrated, which is a strange thing to say about Dallas.
Fantasy friendly.
100%.
Yeah.
It's going to be like Bengals. They're going to throw the ball 50 times a game. Both receivers are going to be great if everyone's healthy.
Yeah, so we still see it as a bankable top 5 pick, but I mean, Pickens, Pickens on Cowboys. We have Pickens 64th overall. We have him as like just outside the top 30 at receiver. And, you know, he's honestly in a range of talented but frustrating people. Jalen Waddle, Chris Olave, Rashee Rice, people who we don't know what to do with for a variety of reasons.
Boom or bust. Like, Pickens will probably have some quiet games and then some huge games.
Yeah.
It's a Ricky Bobby tier. It's guys that you're like, to have top 10 talent, but maybe outside the top 50 for strange reasons. So, okay. Do we trust her? I think trust. I never
trust.
thought I'd say trust Pickens, but I actually increasingly think that real life and fantasy, this will work. The next one here, Davante Adams to the Rams.
Kind of floated under the radar weirdly this offseason.
Dude, I think this is like one of the most underrated signings of the offseason. Just how good. I think Davante is still good.
Mm-hmm.
And the Jets thing was a mess. You know what's funny? Even thinking back, last night when I was preparing for the show, I forgot Davante Adams was on the Raiders, and I realized him. I was like, I have no memories of him on the Raiders.
He had like 1,400 yards and
he
13
had
touchdowns.
Some great seasons with the Raiders. I have no memories of them at all.
Who was playing quarterback at that time? Was
Derek
it
Carr.
Oh, Carr.
I guess it was Derek Carr.
Because they were college teammates.
That's
right.
That's right. Remember anything?
They were at Fresno.
There was like a whole thing where Davante Adams like demanded a trade or whatever, ended up with Derek Carr. He wanted to be with Derek Carr, and then Derek Carr got traded.
Yeah.
Not ideal.
And then it was like Gardner Minshew.
It's like, fuck. Okay.
But yeah, I have no memories of Davante Adams on the Raiders, weirdly. I black that out. But the Rams have been looking for this outside receiver for like 5 years straight now. They've tried with Sammy Watkins and Odell and Allen Robinson and Brandon Cooks. And Davante is obviously the best version of that. And him and Puka Nacua, we're talking about Pickens and CeeDee Lamb. I'd be Davante Adams and Puka Nacua with Matt Stafford in terms of like kind of a 1 year, let's see how good this offense can be with a revamp offensive line. Like, I don't know. I think this offense could be top 5 in the league.
Stafford doesn't get enough credit, or maybe he does, but Stafford doesn't get enough credit as being like one of the all-time kingmakers in fantasy. He just focuses, like he is essentially just like Sean McVay, where I have 2 guys I trust, and I'm only going to throw to those 2 guys
to the
every
Italians.
single time.
Yeah.
Like he is just so hyper-focused in on those guys. And I think it's partly because he believes he could make every single throw. It doesn't matter if he's being if the coverage is tight, I'm still going to throw it because I know that my guy is going to get open at the last second, all that stuff. I mean, you go back all the way through his career when he was with the Lions. It was Calvin Johnson, obviously, had massive seasons. But even after Johnson left, there was like, he made Golden Tate like 100+ reception guy in the NFL for a little while. There was other guys on that team that he propped up huge. Came to LA, and then Cooper Kupp was a triple crown guy. There's just a long history of Matt Stafford making guys absolute studs in fantasy. So I'm so excited about both of these guys.
And I was, we were talking about how DK Metcalf is not the best fit for Aaron Rodgers based on their styles, because Aaron Rodgers needs a Davante Adams type. Stafford is similar to Rodgers in that respect, where I do think Davante and Stafford are a great fit in terms of kind of developing that really specific, like veteran savvy connection where you're doing the back shoulder stuff, you're communicating pre-snap.
Red zone.
Yeah, totally.
I totally agree. I think if Davante Adams was 28, we'd all be freaking out. Instead, Davante Adams is he going to be 33?
He's 32. I've always been saying this, though, over the last couple of years. It feels like Adams has, more than most guys at his position, a style and skill set that will age really well, just because he's never been about pure speed. No. I want to say, like, even going back to the combine and coming out of the draft, he didn't like run fast. He's always about savvy, really quick.
It's not athletic.
He didn't run fast.
Well, he was. Let's see what. Did
no, I think he probably ran like a 4.5 or 4.6.
Yeah, and I remember it being like a talking point, because like obviously everyone gets all fucking big boners about 4.4s and 4.3s. But yeah, I think he's always been about route running. And if you listen to interviews and see him talking about the way that he runs routes, it's like so nuanced, and he watches tape and he sets guys up throughout the game with like different moves, and basically like, I'm going to save my like ultimate, like Trump move for the last minute of the fourth quarter when I really know I need to use it, kind of do. It's like what you see with what pass rushers do throughout a game to tackles. And so he's just a really smart player, really great route runner, really quick. And that's that matters more than being really fast.
If all the NFL players were playing an NBA game and you needed someone to just like get ISO and just get to the basket, you would have Davante Adams have the ball. Like that's his release package. I don't know, it's like a Kyrie Irving or something. But I just think also Davante Adams being old and having this weird 3-year odyssey of Raiders, Jets, Rodgers, I think disguises the fact that every other box about the Rams Davante Adams thing is checked, where Davante's not replacing Cooper Kupp, literally. Like, Davante Adams, is probably going to be that X role. Like Brandon Cooks was there, Rams went to the Super Bowl. Odell Beckham was there, Rams went to the Super Bowl. They try to get Allen Robinson to do it, but the McVay offense usually has that that outside receiver role where Davante's going to be able to do it. But the flip side of me is, but Davante is kind of replacing Cooper Kupp in the sense that he will be the veteran who sees what Stafford sees. He will see before and after, during the play that, they're playing this coverage wrong, I'm going to do this. Davante will be the veteran who can help McVay and Stafford game plan as a peer and not just as a soldier being told what to do. And so he is and is not replacing Kupp. But I think that to that point, DK, like same way the Rams have had these veterans who age well. Andrew Whitworth was basically a coach on this team. I'm forgetting the center on that first McVay Rams team, but like the center, like you've had a lot of older players age well, Cooper Kupp, obviously, that were just part of the staff game planning. And I think Davante's going to be part of that. And then Terrence Ferguson, the Oregon tight end that they added too. I just think that the Rams, if there's a move on this list where I'm like that affected the Super Bowl and I had to pick one, I would pick this.
Yeah.
Because
DK, as a Seahawks fan, what did you think when they signed?
I was like, fuck.
Yeah. Yeah.
My first impression was like, fuck.
Yeah.
That sucks. It's like, it's almost like they can't keep getting away with this. And then we went and signed Cooper Kupp. And I was like, oh, God, now I got to talk myself into this. But I'm going to do it. I can do it. I already talked myself into Kupp. Yeah.
You want to do that one now to get the Seahawks? So you got
sure.
Yeah. So you got Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp. We'll get to Geno, the Raiders, in a second. But you guys signed Sam Darnold, and then you got Cooper Kupp.
We got rid of DK Metcalf and Geno Smith in favor of Sam Darnold and Cooper Kupp to kind of put it all together. On paper and in my heart, don't love it, if I'm being totally honest. It feels like both guys are worse. There's younger. Darnold's younger. Yeah, that's a fact.
By a lot. That's all. Thank
you. Cannot argue that.
That's an objective fact.
But we've never seen Darnold's birth certificate.
True. And Cooper Kupp is cheaper.
And older. You didn't mention that. But
but he's cheaper is the most important thing. Okay. No, I don't know. From a Seahawks point of view, like I very much have had to sort of talk myself into this, if that's the baseline of what you need to know. I've talked myself into it a little. They're completely abandoning, I think, the philosophy and identity that they had last year. This is definitely Mike McDonald's team now. Like they're going to, it's so funny that they fired Pete Carroll and brought in Mike McDonald, which I totally understand from like a schematic defense point of view, but philosophically, he's the same fucking guy. Like play defense, run the ball, don't turn it over, that kind of stuff. And Seahawks fans are just like, wow, okay, we should just get back to running the ball and, controlling the clock and not turning the ball over. And it's just so funny kind of see Seahawks fans have the same sort of identity crisis. But last year, Ryan Grubb, one of the highest pass rates in the NFL, just could not establish the run whatsoever, just couldn't get it going. And part of that is the offensive line. The Seahawks made some additions to the offensive line, including Gray Zabel in the first round. So they're switching to a new scheme on offense, which is like more like outside zone oriented under center, under Clint Kubiak. They switch quarterbacks. Obviously, Sam Darnold, I think, is going to be much more of a facilitator ball, not putting everything on his shoulders like the way that they did with Geno Smith last year. And yeah, it's just going to be totally different. So I don't know what to make of it. I think again, I can talk myself into the reasons that they did it. It's like we want to be a totally different type of team. So like, why would we pay Geno Smith all this money to just like play under center and hand it off? He doesn't really want to do that anyway. That's not what he's best at. He's best at shotgun. He's going to put the passing game on his shoulders and do that. Whereas I think Darnold has some experience, playing in that system. So he can, in theory, run it pretty well. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, my gut is like the Seahawks got worse at quarterback and receiver. and maybe play caller. I don't know. Probably not play caller. Like might be like a wash there, but we don't really know anything about Clint Kubiak either.
And you have to imagine, let's say Rams fans being like, I don't really care what the Seahawks do.
I don't think about you at all. Have you guys seen Cooper Kupp? He shaved the beard.
Oh,
He shaved
shorter.
the beard.
It's
I like
shorter
that
for sure.
I do like that.
He's got like
He trimmed it.
he's got like the late 90s, hairstyle going on right
Dude,
now.
he kind of looks like Kurt Cobain.
Right. He's playing
Doesn't
to
he?
the crowd. I mean, I respect it.
I mean, look at he actually looks younger because he no
He
longer
does.
has the cape. He looked like what you envision Grizzly Man as like he just looks like he'd been in the wilderness for years and they
Yeah,
found
he had
him.
Castaway vibes for a while. And
Yes.
I never understood why NFL players specifically would have the giant chin beard with the chin strap,
It's like
jamming it in there.
Yeah.
Ugh. Just the
I
worst
got to
thing
give
in the
him
world.
credit at the very least because I've been asking for him to shave that damn thing off for years and he finally did it. So I don't know if it's going to come back though. He might bring it back. They do grow back.
I think it's a new era.
Hopefully.
But yeah, Cooper Kupp. I think Cooper Kupp's washed. I think, we have him outside the top 100. I mean, yeah, like the Rams got rid of him. The Rams were like, Davante Adams, please. So, he's a big enough name that, I think you can take Cooper Kupp. But I think in simplest for fantasy purposes, I think Sam Darnold in Minnesota, which was a perfect situation, could support Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and more. And frankly, I think in Seattle, Darnold will probably just support Jackson Smith and Jigba, and that's probably all I want from Seattle in the passing game, and then hopefully Ken Walker in the running game gets going.
Yeah.
But to me, that's all I want out of Seattle is JSN, Ken Walker. Honestly, that's kind of it, and maybe Cooper Kupp serviceable, and then Sam Darnold in a 2-quarterback league, maybe as your second quarterback or like a good backup third guy in a super flex. But for the most part, I'm a little dubious about this working, frankly.
See,
if
you're a Seahawks fan and you want to just like take the copium and whatever, just try and picture the perfect scenario is like, remember what the Saints teams did the first 2 or 3 weeks of the year last year?
The first two, they like kicked the shit out of the Panthers and the Cowboys.
Yeah, just an absolute fucking buzzsaw offense. They were like the Saints could just come off the gas in like the third quarter. The first 2 weeks of the year last year. This is when we were joking around about we got to find another Kubiak. Where's Klein Kubiak? What's he doing? He's got to be somewhere right now.
There's got to be some other Kubiak under a rock that we can find.
The next, I guess honestly, we should probably just do Geno Smith to the Raiders now while we're here. I think this is similar to me where fantasy, I don't think this is a huge. It's more about the coaching staff changing, the quarterback changing. Does that affect Brock Bowers? They have Ashton Genty at running back. I don't think that, obviously he's a rookie. So to me, it's like, all right, Brock Bowers, does he repeat having the best rookie tight end season in 50 years? And then does Jacoby Myers still have value? And like, to me, that's the beginning and end for the Raiders for fantasy. I think it's just more interested in me, frankly, whether Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, Chip Kelly, and the Raiders are like competitive in an AFC West that now has Pete Carroll, Andy Reid and Mahomes with the Chiefs, Jim Harbaugh and the Chargers, and Sean Payton, the Broncos. Like that aspect and Geno now being thrown in to me is much more, the Raiders being an actual intriguing week-to-week team to me is much more interesting than the Raiders in fantasy.
I really struggle with the AFC West because I like all of the teams. I like all 4 teams. I think all 4 teams are good. I think the Raiders are going to be good. Broncos are going to be good. Chargers are going to be good.
Yeah.
And obviously the Chiefs.
And the
It's gonna be a
Raiders,
fun division.
it would just be cool, frankly, if the Raiders are competitive on a week-to-week basis. And Ashton Genty was awesome. And if Genty and Bowers are legit and Geno, and they were like winning games ugly, but if the Raiders, they just were a cakewalk last year. And if the Raiders are competitive in the Pete Carroll way, it would just be cool. Because I think no team is a cakewalk when the coach is that good, or at least in theory. And
that is the whole thing with Pete Carroll is he just raises the floor of every team.
So,
I mean,
I think Geno's good.
Yeah, he had like, I don't remember what it was, 2 or 3 non-winning seasons in 14 years with the Seahawks.
I'll say this too. I feel like the Raiders' offensive line, which no one talks about or thinks about because they were so bad last year, I think the Raiders' O-line is probably better than the Seahawks and what Geno had last year.
Yeah.
Which isn't how you
I
think
think
of it.
Bowers could just go off this year.
Yeah, you also can't overstate how bad the Raiders rushing game has been and how different with Ashton Genty and Chip Kelly designing runs now, like how different that will look this year.
And that's the thing. So the Raiders, I forget the exact number, but they were last in yards per carry in a way that was It was one of the worst marks in like 4 or 5 years what the Raiders did in yards per carry.
Like maybe I could have been the running back for the Raiders last year and produced the same numbers.
But I think that's a holistic thing about the coaching staff. It's about having Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. It's kind of like teams were like, yeah, go ahead, have Aiden O'Connell through, have Gardner Minshew through. You know what I mean? I think that it changes a lot with all this stuff. So, I think the Raiders. We're all into I think the Raiders are really fun. But for fantasy, it's Bowers, and then I think
we have
Geno's
Bowers
as a top 15 guy
on that team.
I think Jacoby's like a nice late round pick, and then obviously Genty. The expectations are quite high, but he's up there with that like Zeke, Saquon level of rookies in fantasy drafts.
So we trust this, but probably trust more in real life than necessarily fantasy.
Yeah,
I guess.
If anything, I actually wonder if Bowers actually comes down because Aiden O'Connell and Minshew were panic throwing to Bowers and everything, and I almost wonder in a way if Geno actually will be able to go through reads in a way maybe those guys were unable to.
I can understand that line of thinking, but I
feel
think
like that's
I think this raises Bowers' ceiling infinitely. Like,
how many touchdowns did Bowers have? Like 4?
4.
Yeah. Bowers is so fucking
1,200 yards and 4 touchdowns for Bowers.
Yeah, even if he loses like 10 catches, he's probably going to have twice the touchdowns.
Yeah. Oh, 5.
And Geno's pushing the ball down the field,
Yeah.
Bigger plays.
Okay. So I think we're trusting the Raiders. First time
we're
in our
not
lives.
busting the Raiders. We're trusting.
No. Right, DK?
Totally.
All right. If the Davante one is my pick for one that could influence the Super Bowl, this is my one to pick to actually influence fantasy the most this season, which is Justin Fields signing with the Jets.
Yeah.
Another underrated move because it happened against the backdrop of way other more large moves, but Fields signed for 2 years for $40 million. So $20 million a year. Only other serious quarterback on the team. It's like Fields and Tyrod Taylor on the Jets. So Fields is the main guy. And I guess they wanted him because Aaron Glenn is the head coach of the Jets. He coached against Justin Fields like 5 times, division rivals, Bears, Lions. So, I mean, it's not like, it's a mystery. Like, clearly they know what they're getting with Fields. So they believe. And again, bizarre for a number of reasons, including Justin Fields and the Jets will be playing Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers in week 1 after they just key party swapped each other's quarterbacks.
And that game's not nationally televised, right? What a shame.
It's in the early frame, I think, or whatever.
Unbelievable.
Put that on Tuesday night. Tuesday night, week 1 should be rivalry week. It's like the best rivalry of the season before is on Tuesday. That'd be sweet.
When we get to Tuesday in the season, Craig's like, fuck this.
Yeah, seriously. Remember the pandemic season? There was just games every day of the week, and I was like, this is the worst thing ever.
There was a fucking game on Tuesday
Wednesday
at noon.
It was a Wednesday in the middle of the day.
Oh.
And I remember thinking...
Didn't the Steelers played on a Wednesday, and I think the Chiefs and Bills played on a Tuesday. It was crazy.
I remember turning it on, and we're watching it, and I'm like, don't I have work to do? I'm like, no, this is definitely my job.
Yeah.
This is definitely but it was like 2 PM. I'm like, this is so strange.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we're all on the same page. If anyone wants to go on a limb and say Fields will just have his career resurrected in real life, go for it. I think we're all probably going to be Fields in real life. This is probably a bust of a situation.
Well,
but fantasy, I just think this is a trust. I think that Fields, like, he's going to play. And when Justin Fields plays, to me, I strongly feel that he's worth the risk. Even if it may not work in fantasy, I think it's worth trying.
We've already seen it. I mean, that 1 year on the Bears where he ran for 1,000 yards, I think he was like the quarterback 6 or 7 that year in fantasy. And it's like the situation's not worse right now with the Jets. Like I would say the O-line is above average. And
their O-line could be really good. Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think I've ever seen a bigger gap in fantasy expectation versus real life expectation than with Fields.
Is something that's playing into that, Craig? Do you think the fact that people believe he'll get hurt?
No, it's people think he sucks.
Yeah, it's just
that's
like
wild to me because
they're just going to spam him and run him.
Well, I think that it's weird.
I mean, it
that
does matter a little bit.
Well, here's why. It's that you have to separate Fields' September stats out. I don't know why this is the case, but for whatever reason, Fields, even when he played in September, was bad in real life, but also in fantasy. Like Fields never really had a good September.
So they tried to make him a passing quarterback early in the year,
and then it's like a New Year's resolution. Yeah. He's like, I'm going to read defenses and sit in the pocket and make a throw. And then by mid-October, he's like,
they're like, fuck it, we gotta run.
Fields from like
we have no other choice.
We're down 20. We got to run.
If you look at Fields like 2022, 2023 in October on, he was literally like a top 5 fantasy quarterback
fuck the
every
lemons
year.
And bail. You know,
fuck the lemons and bail.
What do you do?
If Fields plays 17 games, I feel like it's hard for him not to be a top 10 fantasy quarterback.
Oh yeah,
top 8. So put it this way. I think we have Fields 13th, which I think is higher than others. I'm going to move him. I think he should be like 9th.
We should stop being cowards.
Make him 5th.
Yeah. I think a weird thing with fantasy rankings.
Put him at 1st.
Well,
5th isn't insane to me.
I'm not going that far.
Well, it sounds crazy.
Again, we had Anthony Richardson 5th last year. So.
Yeah, that was, but he sucks. Fields is great. But there is a similar argument, though, where even if Richardson flamed out, to me, it's this simple. We never talk about this, but there's projections of how you think it'll perform. But then there's the rankings also have to take into account supply and demand. And the first 4 quarterbacks, like who are the guys who could run for 10 touchdowns at quarterback?
Jaden, Lamar, Hurts.
Josh Hurts. The first 4 guys off the board.
Yep.
And then like Kyler, Bo Nix. Those are other guys in the top 8.
Rodgers has apparently looked really mobile.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. But once those guys are off the board, the top 4 guys, Kyler, Bo Nix.
Daniel Jones.
But there's 3 guys. It's like the Colts combo of Jones and Richardson, maybe Drake May, and then Justin Fields. And it's like, but how many pocket passers are there that could have a good season? 12. And my point with the Richardson thing is Richardson was a flame out. All right, sometimes it's Lamar 2019, sometimes it's Anthony Richardson 2024. But there's always a Baker Mayfield last year. This guy that was like the 17th quarterback taken that ends up being a top 5 guy.
Yeah.
And I just don't want Jared Goff when I could have Justin Fields because, it might be bad, but who cares? I could just get Trevor Lawrence, CJ Stroud, Jordan Love. Like, I can get a pocket passer whenever I want. So I'm not saying I'm guaranteeing Fields will be good, but I want Fields because he's the last guy that could join that top 4.
It also feels like the Jets know who he is and they're not going to try and force him into something that he's not. Like, they're just going to run the shit out of the ball, and it is going to be the Navy offense again.
I think that they're what they're trying to do, and don't jump down my throat on this, Eagles fans, but they're trying to be like kind of like the Eagles, where dominant run game, a quarterback who can run when pressure happens. And Fields it's not like Fields is a terrible thrower. He just is a slow processor. So like if they can design a scheme that will get him opportunities to push the ball down the field, like he can hit guys down the field. So I think, obviously maybe it's delusional, but I think they believe they can have an offense that's somewhat akin to what the Eagles do.
And to that point, the Jets' offensive line is another thing where I'm intrigued if it's good because you have Olu Fashanu at left tackle. They just drafted Armin Membu to be right tackle. Those
they
are
could have an elite,
high picks.
Yeah, they could have an elite offensive line.
Elijah Vera Tucker's a really good right guard. Joe Tippmann is, I think, 3rd year at center. And then left guard's John Simpson, who was the guy with the awareness rating questioned by Brick Johnson, the son. But, John Simpson, good guard. You guys didn't care about that at all. I just can't get over that story.
No? I mean, yeah.
No one cares? Okay, whatever.
I love a good Brick story.
Anyway. I agree. Well, like if they, again, Justin Fields at the end of at the time, a few years ago, had the most rushing yards a quarterback has ever had in a season.
Yeah. He's fast. The man is fast.
I saw a supercut of every Anthony Richardson interception last year, and it was was it his fault or not his fault? And they were just all his fault, and they were so bad. Some of the worst throws I've ever seen. I can't believe what that season was.
So on that note, the Colts signed Daniel Jones to a 1-year deal for $14 million for the simple fact that Chris Ballard basically just said, we don't know if Anthony Richardson can stay healthy or stay on the field. We went from, in a few months, Chris Ballard, the GM of the Colts, saying that Anthony Richardson is entering his first truly healthy offseason, to Anthony Richardson having a shoulder injury at OTAs, and it's seeming like Daniel Jones will play in week 1. That happened in the span of 4 months.
He's seeing Dr. Elatrash. What's
Neil Elatrash.
And he's
the
like
Achilles surgeon for Kobe, and the guy who worked on Otani and Kobe.
Oh, God.
He's like the guy. Yeah.
So not great. But to Craig's point, I got this stuff from Bill Barnwell. I couldn't believe this. I read it 3 times because I thought it was incredible. Anthony Richardson's 47.7% completion percentage was the worst in NFL history after adjusting for error among passers with a minimum of 200 attempts.
I'm going to send you guys that supercut. It's astonishing. Some of the throws.
I said this on a show a couple times ago. We spent the whole offseason talking about Anthony Richardson needing to be more accurate, and then his completion percentage dropped 12 points.
It dropped the most it could ever drop. I don't think we knew it could drop that much.
Like, if you drop 3 points, like, people talk about it. 12 points. Not great.
No, and Daniel Jones, I just think can step in and, if it's 3rd and 6, like, Daniel Jones can throw a 7-yard pass to, like, Michael Pittman and complete it. And I just think that's what the Colts would like to see. Because
I think Jones is mobile Flacco. He's mobile Joe Flacco. He can run, he can move. But to me, that couldn't be more different than Richardson, because Richardson was throwing the ball deeper than any quarterback last year. Like, Richardson's average pass was traveling significantly further than everyone else. Daniel Jones is the check down king. who frankly, Daniel Jones had good deep accuracy early in his career. And ever since this neck surgery, Daniel Jones has been literally throwing it the short. Alex Smith, he's been throwing it the shortest of any player in the NFL, basically, and the deep accuracy is kind of faded. So I don't know.
I will say, I think if Anthony Richardson, like if his shoulder is a problem and he's like officially out for the first, 6-8 weeks of the season and Daniel Jones is the starter, I think Michael Pittman immediately becomes one of the best, like late round picks.
Good value. Him and Downs. Josh Downs.
Yeah, Downs is good too.
Yeah. Downs is like if Wan'Dale Robinson was good.
Oh, come on.
About which part?
I mean, Downs is a legit really good route runner.
Okay, fine. Josh Downs is like if Wan'Dale Robinson was a legit really good route runner.
Sure. That's good. Yeah. Are you just saying because they're the same size?
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
That's exactly why I'm saying. Josh, what is
Don't
Josh
judge
Downs?
a book by its height.
Small. Josh Downs is bigger. Josh Downs is 5'10". Wan'Dale Robinson is not 5'10".
It's like 5'8".
Yeah. I'm just
I
really
don't know
upset
why you
with
had to
Wan'Dale
bring
Robinson.
up freaking Wan'Dale Robinson there.
Because Daniel Jones played with Wan'Dale Robinson.
Oh, okay. I see the connection now. That makes sense. I gotcha.
I see how if you didn't put that together, that would feel like a shot.
No. I understand what you're saying now. I just missed it.
But yeah, I agree. It's going to be like if Richardson's playing, you will bench Pittman and Wan'Dale, and if Jones is playing, you will play them.
Yeah, Pittman was like one of the worst picks in fantasy last season, and now he might be one of the best if Daniel Jones starts.
And yeah, you'll know when to play them or not, probably.
It's just so weird to think that Daniel Jones could be a starter for the Colts this year. It's wild.
I actually think in real life this is a disaster, but I think in fantasy, I actually think Jones could be like surprisingly. So he'll be again.
Competent.
What we're talking about with Fields, Daniel Jones. It's like to Craig's point. It's like the Blake Bortles thing. When Blake Bortles was good in fantasy, but the worst quarterback in the NFL. Like Blake Bortles was so bad, he became a running bit on the Good Place.
Yeah,
like NBC had a multi-season arc
about a guy from Jacksonville who loved Blake Bortles and the Jaguars.
That's how bad
Bortles.
Bortles.
And they were in hell the entire time.
Craig.
You know,
Spoiler alert.
Come on. Show's been out for like 8 years.
One of the greatest twists. Or maybe it was really obvious, but still.
No, I don't think it was obvious.
I didn't see it coming.
I think
when the twist happened, I was like, oh my God.
I'm going to make a claim without having put 1 second of thought into it, but I feel like it's the best twist in comedy history.
Oh, can I?
Ooh, that's a good category.
There's no twists in comedy usually.
That's a good twist. It's not a twist, but it's a reveal. It's not quite the twist. A spoiler for Arrested Development. Skip this if you haven't seen Arrested Development, but if you just watch the show.
The banana stand?
I think the funniest reveal I've ever seen in a comedy is that Saddam Hussein was living in a model house in Arrested Development. When they're watching, they get Saddam
Solid as a rock.
And they're like,
that
looks like our house.
That's not a twist, but it's just like an amazing
incredible like
addition,
3-year bit. Oh my God. Yeah, email us the best twist in comedy history.
Also, I always just loved the dad being like, well, there's always money in the banana stand.
and then
he does that little, I can't even do it. Like, so good.
Speaking of T-Bone.
T-Bone! Which also,
did you burn down the banana stand?
Oh, most definitely.
Or wait, maybe it was the garage. I can't remember what he
No, you burned down the storage unit?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, but Seinfeld had George Costanza bobblehead night. No, not Seinfeld. Yankees had Seinfeld night where they gave away Costanza bobbleheads. And that reminded me, because people emailed me about it and saying, George Costanza had a whole Seinfeld episode where he went by T-Bone.
Oh, wow.
Everyone's like, T-Bone!
Really? I don't remember that episode.
I don't either.
Dude, yeah, everyone's like calling George he ordered a T-bone at work dinner or something. And everyone's like, T-bone! Oh, for lunch. He ordered T-bone for lunch.
By accident. Everyone was like, this guy's
T-bone.
Cool. Yeah.
T-bone.
I think objectively T-Bone's the best, but
yeah,
I agree. You argued with us about it.
No, but I'm saying I have a soft spot in my heart for Will Ferrell yelling J-Bone.
J-Bone's great.
But T-Bone's objectively good also.
It's a clear top 2, though. Then there's a teardrop.
I agree. I'm going to step around here, but I want to, just out of respect for all these other players, I'm not going to talk about the Giants right now. I want to just get to a few receivers. Okay. The Washington Commanders had Deebo Samuel, which to me is the epitome of this exercise, is you, at some point between July 30th and September 10th, everyone watching football is going to at some point be like, Deebo Samuel's on Washington?
Also, we never talked about this on the show, I don't think, but we had a discussion offline. there was apparently some Dr. Deebo videos out there,
Yes.
or were there?
Someone AI edited it to make him look fatter.
Oh, is that now in dispute? That it was.
No, I really don't know the answer. I don't know if anyone officially admitted to it.
Can I admit? Well, I want to admit something. I saw him and I was like, man, Deebo's looking thick. And then
You saw him on that video?
I didn't know it was Doctor. I saw a
Right.
video where I thought he looked thick, and then we were in a group chain that was like, oh, this is actually doctored. But I could never really tell a huge difference between the regular
thought he
video and the
looked
doctor
smart.
video.
Just camera angles can look different with lighting and different cameras. Like different lenses can look different. So
Yeah, but it was the same shot. It
It
was
was the
just
same video.
yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I actually think literally 2 weeks ago while I was on vacation was the first AI video I saw where I was like, the world's over. Like no one's going to be able to tell anything. Because I saw this video someone made of cats jumping off a diving board into a swimming pool. And
You
someone
thought
had
that
just taken
looked real?
No, but it looked real. But
He
someone
thought it
had,
was.
No. But I'm saying Olympic diving board footage. Fuck you. God damn it.
He texted me and he was like, "Did you see this?
was like, this
How
is
is this
so-
not a bigger deal?"
Okay, sorry. Continue.
Well, so I saw the cat. Someone had a really realistic version of cats diving in water, and it looked real.
I saw it.
Then my
I didn't think it looked that
mother-in-law
real, but that's
pulls
fine.
it up on Instagram, but it's dogs,
Mhm.
which is like way like you know what I mean? Dogs get trained to do stuff. Like cats diving in a pool is obviously fake.
Was the dog? Was it a golden retriever doing a triple axel off of a diving board? No, I don't think that's believable.
Well, she asked, and I had to let her down gently, and I was like,
Oh,
"That
my
is
God.
fake. That is fake." But it's hard for the boomers to conceptualize that
Sure.
something they see is fake. Like all this
Boomers, he says.
And the boomers,
Right.
it's like smallpox blankets. There's like the internet. Like we have antibodies. We grew up seeing
It's like
stuff on the internet,
smallpox,
and we see
Jesus.
ads, and we see fake stuff, and we see our friends doing like lying because it's funny, and we're like, you can't believe everything you read. The boomers just believe everything they fucking read because they, you know what I mean? And so they have no immunization
when they grew
to
up,
this.
that's what you could do.
Yeah, someone published this. This must be true. And now they see something like, you see these dogs doing these tricks? I'm like, that
It's
was
why-
created by someone in a basement.
It's why Air Bud was such a successful franchise because they believed it.
Dude. Yeah, it's a good
Oh my
documentary. Can you believe that? And
I
people say
forgot to
Travis
tell you
Hunter
guys.
can't play both sides of the ball. I'm like, did you see Air Bud win the World Series?
He played soccer, football, basketball. I think race car driving. He did it all.
I forgot to tell you guys that two of my buddies literally got into almost a fist fight because they were trying to decide whether it was Airbud 2 Golden Retriever or Airbud 2 Golden Receiver.
It's Golden Receiver.
Obviously,
I hope your friend
No.
got his ass
Shit.
kicked.
it's
I'm trying-
receiver. Otherwise, there's no pun.
Golden Receiver.
Otherwise, that's just what type of dog he is.
They made the movie
No,
because of the
hold
title.
on. I'm fucking it up. It wasn't Golden Retriever. It was fuck. I
We're
can't
gonna
remember what
wait
it
and
was.
make
They
you
were
think
like
of this.
arguing over the name of the Airbud 2 movie, essentially.
Wait, how about this? Call your friend. What's your friend doing? Right? You still
Hold
talk
on,
to him?
let me
And
see
they
if I can-
refuse
Call
to
him.
look. I really respect that they refuse to look it up. Right? They're like, no, we're gonna
Right.
hash this out old school.
Yeah.
No
Call your
internet.
friend.
I'm gonna say Airbud.
By the way, email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. I want to know the dumbest arguments you've almost gotten in a fist, or you got in a fist fight over with your friends.
Have I said this on the show that my friends Mike and Jackson, who are the king of dumb arguments, once argued for 20 minutes about where the guys from Florida Georgia line were from?
Was one of them like, oh, wait, DK, it is titled Golden Receiver. Oh, wait, no, yeah, that's what we thought.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Oh no,
Yeah.
sorry. Here's what it is. They just Brian just responded. It was wide retriever
Ah,
golden receiver.
Okay.
And they almost I think they actually
Came to
fought.
blows.
They actually fought a little.
It's Golden Receiver. Dude,
as
wide
much as
retriever's
friends
good,
can
though.
have
Wide
a fist
receiver is
fight,
good. That was probably a difficult decision in that marketing department, but that, yeah,
Wide retriever
Wide
versus golden
retriever.
receiver. And it was golden receiver.
it was.
Yeah, Golden Receiver. is the
That
name.
movie made $10 million.
Roger Sherman had a great article for The Ringer where he ranked
$1 million.
all Airbud movies in terms of how likely it was that the dog could perform the act. Because the first goal, Airbud, is they foul out of a basketball game. They have 4 kids on the team, and they just have a dog boop in the basketball like a seal. He boops the basketball
nose?
into the thing like twice.
Yeah.
And that's realistic to a degree. A
I need
dog
to-
can boop a basketball.
Yeah. I
But then he
guess.
hit a home run in the World Series.
I need to. Oh, he's in the World Series? I need to look up all the movies. Holy
dude.
shit, there's a lot.
Look up this Roger. You look up the Ringer article. I'll send it to you.
Okay,
It's
so we
the
have
Air Bud plausibility rankings.
We have Air Bud. Then we have Air Bud Golden Receiver. Then we have, these were direct to video, Air Bud World Pup, soccer. Air Bud seventh inning fetch.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Then we have
Ironically, that's a stretch.
Then we have Air Bud
Don't stop
Spikes Back.
trying to make fetch happen. Yeah.
Volleyball.
Air Bud Spikes Back, which is volleyball. It's a thinly veiled Empire Strikes
That's
Back
easily,
reference,
though,
I
the
guess?
most plausible one for a dog is volleyball.
Well, let's hold on here. What else do we have? We have Air Buddies. I believe he has children. Snow Buddies, Space Buddies.
Yeah,
Wow.
they went off like canon
Spooky
there.
Buddies? Yikes. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Well,
I guess soccer.
soccer, if he's a goalie, maybe,
Yeah, actually.
you know?
Yeah, I could see that.
A
Honestly,
sweeper.
a dog as a goalie is not a terrible idea. You ever try to get a ball past it like a Australian Shepherd? It's hard.
Have they
Pretty
never
hard.
had a
Those
hockey
videos
one?
where the dog could like run up a wall like 35 feet. Try doing that, guy.
Try to kick a soccer ball past a golden retriever. It's hard.
A wide retriever.
Yeah, email us one things your friends have fought over.
There appears to be a
yeah,
raccoon in the baseball one.
I actually want to know this one, Heifetz. This is a good one. The best prompt is like not real fights, but almost a real fight
Yeah.
where you're like,
Almost
Oh, the
came
dumbest
close.
thing you
each
almost got in
other.
a fight over?
it's like
Oh, that's
almost
great.
what is the dumbest thing you've gotten into an actual fight with your friend with?
Me
Like where
and
it's
my
like a
friend Mike,
physical fight.
we once
Air
argued
Bud.
whether the man was the tallest man in the world was 7'4" or 7'5" for like, oh man, probably 2 hours.
What's the argument? Is it just who's remembering it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it was before you could really Google stuff.
When was that? When could you not Google stuff in your lifetime?
I don't know. We were in 4th grade.
Oh, wow.
We had read it,
So it was
we
a
had
very
read it in
young
different.
argument.
We had read it in different Guinness Books of World Records, and then we were both right.
You
'Cause,
guys know
yeah.
the whole impotent thing with Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah, you and your roommate Chris argued about it. Was it like
He
freshman year
just
of
took a
college?
stand on
Yeah, it's
impotent.
college. Yeah. He was like,
Yeah.
it's impotent. I was like, dude, you know it's not. He's like, it is. 2 hours later, he was like, I knew it wasn't.
I still think that it should be impotent, and somebody just won that argument 300 years ago, and we say it that way. But it's like, why would it be potent and impotent? That doesn't make sense.
I think that was the basis of his argument.
Deebo Samuel. Do you think a golden retriever could do that job?
Honestly, if a golden retriever had to play any kind of position, a Deebo style role makes sense.
That's true. Wide back. That's true. Wide bark.
I will
don't know how to
say,
give serious
I think
analysis
Deebo
after that.
Samuel right now, if you're drafting, obviously things will change when training camp comes around and we determine whether he's actually fat or not. But because of one video that was circulated of him running a route against air, he's at a huge discount right now.
You should
So,
share
like,
the videos to
Looking
your
fat
group
against
chat.
air is not great.
I mean, it's not
You should-
great.
You should share all the disinformation about the players being fat, and then you should take Deebo Samuel in the draft.
Here's what I'll say. I think I agree with you, and you could probably get him for a discount. I was reading Bill Barnwell's article, and he pointed out that one Deebo season in 2021 really has carried a lot of water for like
Yeah.
his reputation.
Yes,
because
extremely.
He's hurt a lot, and outside of that season, he's never had a year outside of 2021 where he's had more than 900 receiving yards. I know
Yes.
he runs the ball a lot, but like 892 yards is his best season outside of that 2021
He
year.
had a 1,400 yard season, right?
Yeah.
That is all true. I think to me, there's three things. It's the cheapest you will get Deebo in 5 years.
And the fattest, which is
And
big.
so pounds per square
Which
inch.
is
Right.
big.
Yeah.
My God, the value. Yeah, it's kind of like when the meat at the supermarket's kind of like, this is going bad. It's like, it's a pretty good deal.
It's the sell by date is today.
It's the sell by date's 2023. Yeah. But I also just think I just trust Cliff Kingsbury. Like Washington last year got so much out of all these guys. Like, I mean, look at Diami Brown, Olamide Zacchaeus. Like these are flotsam. Like these are just guys floating around the league
So
that no one has been able to make that productive. And Cliff
God,
Kingsbury just grabbed anyone and just made it work. And like Zach Ertz, all these people that hadn't looked like they belonged on an NFL field all worked for Washington, and they made everything work with Jan Daniels. And now they get Deebo. I just think it's going to work. And he's in a contract year, so I think he'll be in shape.
DK, where do you land with this?
I think it's the perfect spot for Deebo because I think they were already a really screen heavy offense. And just in terms of his role, that's what he's going to do. He's going to run. He's probably going to have a ton of screenplays where, they try to get him into space really quickly, let him do his thing, end arounds, things like that. But he'll also line up in the backfield every once in a while, I'm sure. But in terms of like fits with offensive coordinator and Kingsbury and quarterback, I think it's perfect because like the things they can do with him is really creative. And they don't have like an elite running back. I think part of the reason Deebo he never repeated his all-pro season was, number one, he kind of told the team he didn't want to run the ball as much as he did because it was like going to wear him down earlier. But number two, they went and got Christian McCaffrey not long after that. Yeah. And they didn't really need Deebo to be a running back anymore because they had Christian McCaffrey carrying the load. So
it's kind of like if Bill comes on our show, we don't need to do the fucking take purge. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the Niners have McCaffrey. They're like, all right, Deebo, why don't you just go play fucking wide receiver?
Yeah.
But I think in terms of places where it could really work, this is the place it could really work. But hopefully he's in shape.
And I feel like we will know, like the first 3-4 weeks of the season, I think you'll know what kind of Deebo year you're getting probably. I
just think it's it's the epitome to me of buying the dip. And it's
he'll
also
be so cheap.
And part of it to me is this simple. He is in a contract year, which when you're in that 29, 30-year-old range for a receiver, all these guys know it's their last, unless you're Mike Evans or Davante, it's your last chance at
you show up
$30
in
million
shape.
a year.
Yeah.
It's like Deebo's looking at whatever's Deebo's bank account. This is his last chance to add, you know what I mean? Get a real contract. And Diggs, all these guys are in this situation. So,
Heifetz, you mentioned the word flotsam a few minutes ago. It's so funny. I was texting our friend Jackson Bevins, who used the term flotsam, and I said to him, "Flotsam, great word." I feel like that's a word Danny Kelly would appreciate. And he said, "Future ferry boat captain Danny Kelly." And then 2 days later, you said flotsam. So
that's weird.
No.
Flotsam's a good word. Stuff floating around. Yeah. Did we ever talk about there was this container ship of rubber duckies that spilled in the 90s? And
they're just out there floating around still?
And it actually helped oceanographers. It's a perfect test case of where does currents go? Because they just kept finding, they had serial numbers on the ducks, so they could just trace. So they started finding ducks all over, I believe all 7 continents got a duck.
Wow.
And they went all over the world. And they could trace.
What are the odds they found all those ducks?
That feels like an animated movie.
I know. I was going to say that they need to make that into a movie.
Yeah, that actually
one of the ducks is the main character.
I'll get ChatGPT to crank that out.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
No, it's a TV show because every episode's about finding a new duck. It's like Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah, and then the lead duck's name, Storm Duck.
I don't want to keep going. We should end the show full circle.
Storm Duck.
Yeah. Sequel, Booby Feaster. All right, let me wrap up these. So the other
sequel,
Booby Feaster. It's a blue-footed booby. Get your mind out of the gutter,
dude.
Stefon Diggs signed with the Patriots. It was reported as 3 years and 60 whatever million. It's a 1-year deal for $60 million, and if he's good, they'll bring him back. But they don't owe him as much money as it sounds like. I think dead money for them would be $3-4 million next year. So it's a 1-year commitment. Diggs is coming off a torn ACL in Houston. So Diggs has gone from being traded from the Bills to Houston, where they reduced his contract, which I feel like I've almost never seen. So he hits free agency early. He's on a 1-year deal, tears his ACL. Now he's on another 1-year deal being reported as a 3-year deal. He's dating Cardi B. He's got the 2C, whatever the pink drugs were on the boat in the offseason, not at OTAs with the ACL rehab. Meanwhile, Drake May threw 10 touchdowns last year to 10 different people. I'm going to pass. I'm going to pass on the Stefon Diggs off the ACL experience.
Yeah.
DK, does Stefon Diggs to New England make you trust, or does it make you bust?
It makes me bust in a bad way. Derogatory. No, I don't trust this particularly. It's apart from all of the personality stuff, which is a lot. He's coming off of a late season ACL tear.
Yeah, I think it was mid-season.
It's week 5, week 6. Regardless,
still that's that's why we have a year after the year after thing, that rule,
and that only gets more important as you age. If you're 24, I think I'm just going to have a hard rule. If you tear a ligament in your knee and you're over 30, I think I'm out.
He's 31. He'll be 32 in November.
Yeah.
So
I'm not interested. Would you rather we have them in the same range? Would you rather have Cooper Kupp or Stefon Diggs?
Man.
That's tough. I think it's pretty cool. I think probably Diggs. But that's also
I'd rather have
we're not high on Kupp.
I think I would have Kupp as well. He shaved the beard, so
Yeah, he shaved the beard. It's later. Think about he's going to get in a mile an hour back without all
weighs
the wind
1 pound
resistance. Yeah. Giants signing Russell Wilson, Jameis, and then getting Jackson Dart at quarterback. I think Russ is going to start. You're not having these guys in fantasy. If it's a super flex league, Russ is like, maybe a cheeky late round guy. You can have Dart too if you want. I don't think Jameis is going to play, barring like an injury to Russ early in the season. I think they signed Jameis in case they couldn't get Jackson Dart, and now they're just going to carry 4 quarterbacks. Mostly to me, this just affects whether you want Malik Neighbors on the team, but this is like a pretty narrow offense. It's like Malik Neighbors at receiver. I don't think you want another receiver. And then, Tyrone Tracy and Scatabo, and I mean, it's thin.
What about Darius Slayton getting a bunch of money and now being with Russell Wilson, who, if there's anything he still does well, it is kind of throw the ball deep?
Slayton to me is the epitome of a waiver wire guy. I think that Slayton's a perfectly capable, like if you have a bunch of injuries or bye weeks or something and you want to add Darius Slayton off waivers, perfect. I don't think there's enough upside for you to carry Darius Slayton for a season because it's just, I don't know. I'd rather stash, a running back or, in case someone gets hurt or just have like a higher upside player or rookie. I would just.
Heifetz, where are you at on the number of games before Dart is playing? Do you think he'll play this year?
I would like him
without injury.
Without injury?
So like Russell's
healthy,
or not. They'd bench him for Dart.
I feel like I change my mind about this every week. I think in the nutshell, I would say this. I don't know. I don't want to pretend to know what I would have done with Brian Daboll and Joe Schoen and everything at the end of the season. There's an argument to fire them. It's an argument to keep them. I think you have now decided to hold on to Brian Daboll, the coach, and Joe Schoen, the GM, and you've let them draft a quarterback. I think it's a mistake to be like, well, if they don't make the playoffs this year, they're fired. You have embarked on a 2-year thing here.
Right.
And I think it would be a mistake to give Brian Daboll, I understand why you can't necessarily tell Daboll, yeah, you got the whole year, you can suck, it's fine. But I would prefer Brian Daboll to know that he has 2 years and do what's best for Jackson Dart's development. And don't feel like if Russell Wilson starts 1-6 because he sucks, that if you don't get Dart in week 7, even if you think maybe he's not ready, but you're like, fuck it, I got nothing left. Jameis, I want them to just prioritize Dart's long-term development. I am a big fan of sitting. I think sitting is okay. You know what I mean? I don't know. And maybe he doesn't need as much seasoning, but it depends on whether they're winning or not and whether he looks good. But I think Dart would benefit from sitting for at least 2 or 3 months.
Savvy move by Daboll and Schoen. I mean, this is like that couple that you always think is about to break up. And every year the guy's like, I got to break up with her. And then they're married 5 years later.
That's what the quarterbacks are. It's an anchor baby. And maybe that's what we should call them sometimes. These are anchor quarterbacks. That was kind of the Bears with Justin Fields. It's like they had not Ryan Poles. What's the other Ryan P that ran the Bears before the poll? The other Ryan before Ryan Poles that ran the Bears, who now is destroying another team. He's with the Falcons. Why can't I remember this?
I know what you're talking about. And I'm blanking on it.
Ryan Pace.
Ryan Pace
drafted Trubisky, which at the time was crazy. And everyone was like, what? And then he drafted Fields. And it's like, it's an anchor quarterback.
Is an anchor baby a phrase is that like when you have a baby to save your relationship? Is that what an anchor baby is?
I didn't know that expression.
Me neither.
Yeah. So,
but I really like that for Jackson Dart. Jackson anchor baby Dart.
Well, no, the funniest thing was Jameis had an interview. Asked about Dart and Scatabo, and Jameis says the white boys are seasoned out here because he's talking about Tommy DeVito, Scatabo, and Dart. Dart looks like fucking.
They're seasoned.
And also, Jackson Dart is obsessed with Anakin Skywalker because Dart looks like Hayden Christensen, and then Abdul Carter is obsessed with Darth Vader, obsessed with Dart, wants to be known as Vader.
I don't love that. On either side. I think both of those.
I know my reaction,
scenarios.
My gut reaction to that is both negative.
Yeah. Being obsessed with Anakin Skywalker specifically, I think is kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like it's not that cool until you get to Darth.
What about the younglings?
It's sick if they're good. It's the epitome of if they're good, it's sick.
Those poor younglings.
All right.
That's a big win for Star Wars, though, I got to say. Still hanging on. The young kids still think Star Wars is cool 50 years later.
Do you think that, how Alan Lazard did the finger guns for first down and got fined, even though the Patriots have muskets? Do you think that since ESPN's a league partner,
even though the Buccaneers
Disney,
have cannons,
the lightsaber would be fine?
Do you think if Abdul Carter does the lightsaber celebration after a sack, do you think that will that get?
Well, it
pretty good
depends on
marketing.
how he does it, I suppose.
Yeah. If Disney had a Star Wars movie coming out this year, they'd be fine with it.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is all I think the Giants are not gonna work. This is all gonna be a disaster. So that's my take.
Wait,
can
I ask you briefly? Malik Neighbors was awesome last year, despite the quarterback situation being a mess. I guess the quarterback situation this year, you would probably say, is a little better. Still not great, but a little better. Do you feel better about Neighbors? Is he going to have a better year than last year?
It's weird because I could see across a full season looking good, but I think Neighbors has the chance for the most volatility week to week in the entire league. Because if Dart is the quarterback at any point, which will be later in the season, fantasy playoffs, important matchups, if I was the defensive coordinator, I would cover Malik Neighbors on every fucking play and make Jackson Dart throw to anyone else. Both practically to make Dart process and also just because the Giants don't have that many. Slayton and Wandale aren't as scary to me. It's not that hard to tackle them.
You got no tight
relatively.
end. Yeah.
So, but the flip side is, I think if Jameis Winston plays, like if Russell Wilson pulls a hamstring and Jameis Winston's playing in September, I literally think we will rank Malik Neighbors as the number one receiver every single week that Jameis Winston starts. So you're balancing, like, what's the chance Jameis Winston plays? 10%, 15, Russ is like 6, you know what I mean? I just think that you're going to watch the games and be like, fuck, I can't believe I'm betting on Russell Wilson to throw the ball to Malik Neighbors. Now, I don't know. Maybe he moonballs it. It's like DK Metcalf when he had 14 touchdowns. Maybe Neighbors looks great. You know what I mean? Like maybe Neighbors, maybe it's awesome, but I'm a little dubious.
Yeah, I can't think of a stronger, there's nobody else to throw the ball to situation than Malik Neighbors and the Giants in a while. I mean, it is.
He's going to get a ton of targets. I worry it'll be ugly.
Yeah.
Again, it goes back. Like, Neighbors is good. You can take him in the first round. I just come back to look at the players in the first 15 picks of fantasy drafts this year. Who are their quarterbacks?
No, totally. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of one of the weirder picks just because the situation is so kind of.
It's like Garrett Wilson
risky.
last year. Remember Garrett Wilson, where we're like, oh, this guy, and even then, Neighbors is frankly, his rookie year was better than anything Garrett Wilson's probably done. But like, it's similar to me, where you're like, but the situation could be toxic. Like, what if it goes badly? What if Brian Dable's fired? You know what I mean? Like, it could spiral, and you're like, I can't believe I did that. But anyway, we'll see. Last player on a new team here, Najee Harris to the Chargers. We don't have to linger on this. They drafted Omarion Hampton, the running back in North Carolina, first round, like a month later. It's Hampton's backfield, just a matter of when, not if. So it's whether Najee gets the ball. You know, is he the starter for 1 month, 1 year, 3 years? You know what I mean?
0 months.
I hate this for this year. This sucks for Omarion Hampton. Najee Harris is going to be an energy vampire, suck up 40% of the carries. He might be like starting games for like the first 12. He might be like technically the starter. Greg Roman loves to split, even if it ends up becoming Omarion Hampton. Maybe that's a guy you should trade for halfway through the season. But I think
draft Najee and then trade for Omarion Hampton. 100%. Probably the correct move. If you're
they are talking up Najee in the offseason. Like he is going to be in the mix, which sucks.
This is going to be a Bijan Algier situation.
Yeah, honestly, it's all the ingredients are there because Najee's going to do all the little things they like. Oh, the only player with more carries than Najee last 4 years is Derrick Henry. So he plays. He doesn't generally miss games.
Yeah.
Another thing Bardwell pointed out, it's just Najee's better at a gap scheme. The Chargers are a gap scheme team. I'm not surprised that the zone the Steelers started running he wasn't as successful there. I'm not saying Najee Harris is awesome, but the bad version of like what Zeke does, like I think Najee does little things that coaches like. Harbaugh's obsessed with him, which that alone he's probably going to play.
Najee can get you 5 yards. He's not going to explode for 20, but he can get you 5.
Again, Harbaugh wanted him as a recruit, and he got him. So I think Najee is going. There's a little like James Conner energy from like 4 or 5 years ago, where you're like, Najee off the Steelers, he's done now. We'll never hear from this guy again. And you're like, I wonder if he has 5 years left.
That'd be interesting. Yeah,
he might be the nastiest pick in fantasy.
He's gnarly. Absolutely gnarly.
We should do that ranking.
Yeah.
All boring team?
The hold your nose and
not even boring.
Hold your nose and hit the button.
Because James Conner is boring, but he's not nasty. You know? There is like
stanky.
A stank. If you draft Najee Harris, everyone's gonna be like, what the fuck are you doing? This is disgusting. Like hold their nose picks.
That's actually pretty good. You know? I like stanky picks. That's good. We'll do stanky picks.
Yeah, there's plenty of boring guys who are not stinky.
Yeah, there's a lot of stank out there. Okay. You guys want to do some emails and get out of here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com. Wanted to hit a few things from when we last recorded before all those things that happened. First of all, we talked about names you can yell and people would instantly get what movie you were talking about. So we talked about Rachel from Dark Knight. Rachel. Adrian. Ones we missed. Stella.
Right.
Yeah, I can't do it.
That's a good one.
Ben, like Lord of the Rings, was like, Ben. I said Lord of the Rings, I meant Star Wars. Sorry. The Lord of the Rings ones were like Sam and Frodo, but like I just think the Lord of the Rings names are weird.
Heifetz.
I don't think that counts.
Sam and Frodo.
Fine. But
Frodo.
I think
when you saying Sam there sounded like Gilly from
yeah, well, there you go. That's the list right there.
Sam.
But I think Ben from Star Wars.
Sam, what are books? Sam, what is oxygen? Gilly, that's what you breathe.
Silly
okay.
Gilly.
Gilly, books are what we read.
What else?
I forgot Bill always used to reference the Khan from Star Trek, which is funny because I feel like Bill's never seen Star Trek. But
wait, what? Ben is from Star Wars?
Yeah,
it's like the least fafavorite thing from Star Wars. Or the least famous thing from Star Wars.
This is what people said. A lot of people threw in Breaking Bad for was like Walter Hank, but I think that's also just the name
these
thing.
aren't even close to like
I know,
Stella and Adrian and Kevin.
I'm just going through them, but there's one that I think is actually above everything we talked about.
Craig's mad.
Fine, Craig's mad. There's one though that we missed that I think is actually number one on the list.
Okay,
and it's Wilson.
Oh yeah,
that one's
I think
good.
That's the number one all time.
Yep. Oh,
he's
you think?
He's screaming.
I think it's in the top tier.
Adrian is the number one. I think.
I think Wilson. I don't know how to compare it because Rocky's just a larger movie than Castaway.
Adrian. That's the most famous.
Let's do a poll. This is perfect poll
among people that are alive right now. Right.
We can't poll those who have passed on.
Stella's probably
that
an older generation.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, of the generation, I think. Yeah,
let's just poll
Adrian's probably the answer.
Let's poll it. Let's do Adrian, Kevin, Stella, and Wilson.
Ooh,
Adrian. Whatever you just said was fine with me.
Adrian, Kevin, Stella, Wilson.
Yeah. Okay.
Go vote on Spotify. If you're not on Spotify, go to Spotify. Smash
I think that's the top
subscribe.
tier.
Yeah,
that's the top tier.
Give us those stars.
Yeah.
Love those stars.
No, we don't want stars, DK. We want them to subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yes.
Wait, we'll do both. How about do the YouTube channel first?
Okay. We also talked about strange conglomerates.
We're launching an OnlyFans next month, so stay tuned.
Don't even get me started.
Money.
You can make a lot of money.
I was just reading about the CEO of OnlyFans. The Wall Street Journal just did an article on him. He's like a recluse. There's like one photo of him. He's like a normal guy. He's like 40-year-old, like regular ass guy. And there's very few. He has very little internet footprint. Doesn't make public appearances.
That sounds like somebody who would invent OnlyFans. Somebody who knows how to scrub his entire search history from the internet.
There you go. So we I don't remember how we got in this conversation. We were talking about strange. Oh, it started with Bic.
Right.
Made razors and pens, and we were just talking about weird things. And anyway, we asked for strange conglomerates. Got an email from Patrick.
P-Bone.
Who, I don't know. He wrote in he said 4 cups of coffee and a dart for breakfast, which I like that. People started emailing in.
Yeah, I'm telling you, the breakfast thing plays.
What you eat for breakfast?
4 cups of coffee and a dart. This guy's his eyes are just
vibrating.
Bloodshot.
If you email us at ringerfantasyfootball@gmail.com, send your breakfast.
This man fucking flew to work. You know what I mean?
This guy looks like hell. But he's good at what he does.
Do you remember that
Gene Hackman when he was 35?
Remember that Cliff Kingsbury Thursday Night Football game where he looked like SpongeBob all dried out? Like he just looked dead?
I think I would die if I had 4 cups of coffee and a cigarette to start my day. I don't drink coffee. I think I would die.
This used to be America. Anyway,
I mean, for what it's worth, I drink like a pot of coffee every morning, so I can't really talk.
A pot?
Yeah, like a three-quarter pot. Something like that.
How much is it? Like weak
how many
coffee
cups
or
are in a pot of
coffee
on average?
I don't know.
How
like
many mugfuls?
Three full mugs.
But how many scoops are you putting in the coffee machine?
I eyeball it. I just pour.
You eyeball it every day?
I pour until it feels right.
Stud.
Yeah.
Wow.
I go through a lot of coffee because
measure?
I think I'd go hard on the coffee.
Yeah.
I don't want weak shit. You know?
What kind of I mean, you're in the coffee capital of the world. What kind of coffee are you drinking?
It's like some organic company. The Organics. It's like Organic is in the name.
Dude, shout out Counterculture. Counterculture is good
Organic.
coffee.
Or
Dude, shout out Counterculture is good
organic.
coffee.
Organics, maybe, is what it is.
I drink cappuccinos in Italy.
Craig, so you drink coffee?
I did. I had a coffee every morning in Italy.
What?
I was like,
Every
fuck it.
morning? What
And
was,
you
what
loved
was
it?
it like?
Well,
You loved it.
You know what I learned?
Did you smoke a dart too?
I should have. I balanced out the coffee with an Aperol Spritz 30 minutes later. So I was but to be honest, so I drink matcha, which is like 50 to 60 milligrams of caffeine.
But you famously don't drink coffee and never
Correct.
have.
I've never drank coffee.
This is
I've
the
obviously,
first time you've ever drank coffee?
I mean, like I've had coffee before, but yes,
Right.
consistently and waking up in the morning, yes. But
Hell
I
yes.
asked a waiter, I was like, how much? I was like, is it a single shot or a double shot of espresso in an Italian cappuccino, in a regular cappuccino? He was like, it's just a single shot. And I looked it up and it's like 60 to 70 milligrams of caffeine. I guess it ingests differently than matcha or whatever. But to be honest, I didn't feel any different and in a good way. Like I drank it. I enjoyed the taste, went about my day. And now maybe I'm going to be a cappuccino on vacation guy.
I think, yeah.
I'm
sure.
not going to let it infiltrate my life just yet.
I don't think
but-
that coffee, it probably literally does have an impact, but I can drink a pot of coffee and then take a nap. It
Dude,
doesn't
Jackie's like
wake
that.
me up.
Yeah, see, I'm not that type of person.
I don't have
think
any
I could ever.
problem drinking coffee at night and then not sleeping. It doesn't.
Did it
affect me.
affect your bowels, Craig? Did it help with move? Because I think at this point, if
I've
I
always
stopped
been-
drinking coffee, that would be half my problem.
He's a regular
I've always
guy.
been fairly regular, to be honest. I have a pretty tight routine.
Right.
That's why.
But-
That's why I'm wondering. It's a good test case.
No, it didn't affect anything. And also, my wife, Liz, is a big iced coffee drinker, but in Italy, they don't do that.
That's
and thank
like
God.
It's
Both of, us,
harder to find iced
It's like
coffee in Europe.
sacrilege, right?
both of us were just like, and I was not going to order a goddamn matcha latte in Italy. So we just crushed cappuccinos and it was great. And it was hot as hell in Italy. And I was just waking up, starting my day with a scalding hot
Just
cappuccino.
sweating.
It was great.
You're sweating.
How was
You're
Florence?
sweating the Aperol spritzes out.
How is Florence?
Florence was amazing. The art history was just like, I've never really done anything like that traveling. And so, yeah, I mean, we saw the David. We went to the Uffizi, which is the oldest modern museum in the world. We got really lucky with a tour guide who in the Uffizi for 90 minutes, just uninterrupted, just flew through the history of the Renaissance, the Medici family, all this stuff. And it was just so fascinating. And he was one of those tour guides who wasn't just blowing smoke up Italy's ass. He was actually because we had a walking tour guide of the city and we did that first. And that was all kind of roses. And then we had this guy 2 days later. And then he was kind of let me actually tell you what's going on. And it was a great balance. So it was very cool. And then our tour guide for the David was also great. Heifetz, I did what you said.
Did you really? We cut that from the show because.
Oh, is that right? When we
Yeah,
went to
we
see the
did.
David, Heifetz was like, when you walk in, it's going to be at the end of a long hallway. Don't look at it because it'll disrupt the scale.
It's not how it's meant to be seen.
So I kept my eyes down the entire way and I looked up right when I was below it and it hit different. I will say.
Dude, it makes me feel so
The
happy
balls
that you
just
actually
right in
did
your
it.
face
Yeah.
right there.
Liz was like,
Because it's the best statue in the world. It's the best
Yeah.
sculpture in the world.
I mean, it's also the facts about how it was made, even when you look at him straight on, he looks confident. When you look at him from the side, he looks scared. And how Michelangelo did it, it was very cool.
The right hand or the left hand is really massive.
Huge.
The hands and the head are bigger. Also, the way he carves out of stone is different than every other sculptist. Where usually they make a plaster replica so they can work off that. Michelangelo would just visualize.
Just eyeballed it.
He would just eyeball it. He'd look at the stone and be like, "It's in there. I just
It's
need
how
to
I pour my
release
coffee.
him."
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Just feels right, So
I'm sure
basically,
Michelangelo used
the
a lot of coffee.
Michelangelo of making a pot of coffee.
Yeah. Once you add a dart, then you become a real sculptor.
Anyway, what did this dude say? 4 cups of coffee and a dart for breakfast.
Yeah, okay.
P-bone.
Oh, I forgot we were reading an email. Yeah. Wait, were you in the
We
middle
got
of it?
sidetracked.
No, it's fine. Yeah.
What,
It's on
Italy? What do you have any other questions about Italy?
What was your
Yeah, we
favorite
might as well
meal?
now. And then
Yeah.
What was my what?
Favorite meal?
I had a sandwich from this place that I probably won't be able to pronounce the name. It was Schiacciatteria. And
that's right.
Sketch it.
it was a mortadella
Nothing.
pesto stracciatella sandwich on focaccia. It's the best thing I've ever had in my life. Genuinely.
Sweet.
Whoa,
so
okay,
fucking good.
okay. Tell me what's on the sandwich again. I wasn't listening with the intent of this is the
It's
best
very
thing I've ever
simple.
eaten.
It is mortadella, which I'm a huge fan of. It's a pistachio
That's
cream.
the one. It's more mortadella is the meat that it sounds like a cheese.
Yes, it's a meat.
Okay.
It's honestly like bologna, kind of.
Yeah.
But it's mortadella
Rebranded.
Italians are really gesticulating right now.
It's
somewhere.
mortadella, it's pistachio cream, and it's stracciatella, which is cheese.
They're gesticulating.
They're gesticulating in Italian somewhere right now.
I wonder if they'll disagree. But it is basically just like really good bologna.
No, it is, yeah.
It's very simple. Just those 3 ingredients on the best bread ever. There's a little bit of a line. I ate it 90-degree heat on the streets of Florence, and
That's sick.
was
Was
unreal.
Florence your favorite city that you went to, or where did you?
Yeah, Florence. I mean, I just like the culture, the art, the history of Florence, and all that stuff. Like the people, the food, that was all great. But then I went to the coast, and we were in a city called Porto Ercole, which is like an hour and a half off Rome. And swimming in the Mediterranean was as advertised. Like it easily lived up to the hype.
Beautiful water.
Yeah, it's incredibly salty, incredibly clear, and there's like tiny little fish swimming at your feet at most, and it's just like a magical experience. I never wanted to leave.
I'm glad you came back. I was a little worried.
Yeah, it's great. The Italians know what they're doing. Every day feels like a Saturday in Italy.
Because you're on vacation.
Well,
No,
you
but
were-
just like I'm just like, well, looking around. Everybody's
I know
just
what you
like,
mean.
even in Milan, like it was like a Tuesday in Milan, which is like
people
a
are
very
just out chilling
metropolitan city.
in the squares, right?
And everybody's just like having lunch, hanging out, drinking. Everybody drinks at lunch. It's great. Also, even though it's 90 degrees, everyone wears pants, and I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah,
They, like,
no,
wear
there's no
suits
shorts.
in the heat.
You look very American if you wear shorts.
I was wearing shorts. Why is
I
that?
was
Why-
Craig when I went to Italy back in the day. I was told if you wear jeans, they're all going to look at you like you're a freak.
Yeah, I did not wear any jeans. I did not pack any jeans.
But then I got there and people were wearing jeans. But
Dude, also like
that's fine.
It was actually called you were
Yeah.
told it was wide retriever and it was golden
Like,
receiver.
there's Italians wearing jeans.
Dude,
What
also,
are we talking about?
just like the eating culture in Italy is so different. Restaurants don't open until 7 p.m.
Yeah.
yeah,
they
well,
don't open.
they all closed for like 3 hours, like 4
Yeah.
to 7. They're all closed.
Yeah, there are like shops that are open from 10 to 1 on a Saturday, closed from 1 to 4. And then
Siesta.
open back up again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a
But
siesta.
a restaurant that basically doesn't start filling up until like 8:30. What a world.
They got it figured out.
My one of my biggest like culture shocks from being in Italy, which I'm sure this is like common knowledge now, but like the size of the meals are so much smaller there.
Yeah.
At least, or especially when you don't go to like a tourist trap, right?
Yes.
But
I
like
agree.
if you order a main course of pasta, it's like pretty small. And as an American, you're like, what the fuck? Like,
Like,
I
is
need
this how
3 of
much I'm
these.
supposed to be eating?
I know.
I wonder-
I guess
you know,
this
it's-
is why this is €5.
Yeah.
Is it also? You're like, is this why these people
Maybe this is why
eat
we're
like
all
this
fat.
and are like rail thin and live to 90?
Because they're smoking four lung darts and 4
Yeah,
cups
that's
of
true.
coffee in the morning.
Yeah.
Ripping red wine. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I read recently that Italians are or maybe it was the French. Either way, like the European like culture around eating is so much like better. Like they're all so much skinnier. Like the portion sizes are so much better. They walk everywhere.
The
There's
walking, I think, is the
something
biggest
to be
thing. I
said
think
about
there's-
that European culture, guys.
The walking, I think, is the biggest.
Cities built around
unspoken-
walking versus
Yeah.
driving. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like if you live in Dallas, or there's just certain like a lot of city like they're just you can't walk places in like Dallas or Houston. You know what I mean?
Also, it was funny because anytime anybody asked where I was from, we'd say California or Los Angeles. And they'd usually be like, oh man, like California, like I really want to go to Los Angeles. And then the second thing they would say is, oh, Trump, crazy. Like all of them. Where are you from? California. Oh, Trump.
Dude, that's why you got. I'm glad you said the city, because if you see it lead with "I'm from America," then they start with just Trump.
One
So
guy
what'd you
really.
say?
We were just like, yeah, crazy
I know,
stuff
right?
going on. Yeah.
Wild.
One guy was like, I really want to go to a Laker game in Los Angeles. How much does it cost? And I was like, well, you know, like 100
Depends.
to 200 euro for a ticket. And he was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, no, that's kind of how it goes out here.
Dude, that's why I never went to a Lakers game when I lived in LA.
I still have never been to a Laker game. I've only been to Clippers games.
Because it's kind of like, I'm like, am I going to spend this much to see the Utah Jazz? But then a good team comes and you're like, well, I don't have that kind of money.
Seriously, if it's like Nuggets Lakers, it's like $400 to go.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a cool trip.
It was really fun. When we were on a boat once in the Mediterranean in Porto Ercole, there was a yacht across from us. We were in like some tiny little tugboat that we paid like $20 for this little tour. Best money I've ever spent. I would recommend it to anybody. But there was this yacht like 30 feet away from us. Man, it was like 6 people, like 3 older couples, dancing, blasting ABBA holding drinks, ripping cigarettes, and just like diving into the water. They were like maybe in their mid-60s.
Sick.
This is Craig's retirement plan.
Jesus Christ, dude.
They just hope you're as fun as that when you're that age.
Like Liz and I were like, I can't believe like those people, like they also just have one life and that's what they're choosing to, like this is just what they chose. Like I too could, maybe not on a yacht, but like they're just living
have free
life.
will. Yeah.
Yeah. Like this is just what they're choosing to do with their time.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a natural reaction when you're on vacation to like when you see the way other people live in different countries. It's like, fuck.
I mean, maybe they're like very loaded and are retired
Sure,
now and
I'm sure
worked
they
very
are.
hard, but man, that looked pretty great.
I went to Alaska. Not quite the same as Italy. I saw.
But very cool. You sent some amazing pics.
When we got it, so I took the Alaska ferry up to Juneau.
How long did that take?
What's that?
How long did that take?
3 days. The Alaska ferry, for those that don't know, is it's like what is it called? The Alaskan highway, water highway or something like that. Whatever it is. Because there's no roads to Juneau. Like there literally is not a road that connects to another place in Juneau. You either have to fly there or go on the boat. And it's the Alaska Marine Highway is what I was looking for. But it's like it's a commuter boat. So it wasn't like a cruise. And so we just had like a really basic cabin. I just like hung out. We hung out on the boat for 3 days.
When you say 3 days from your home, or the ferry is a 3-day trip to Juneau?
Yeah, the ferry is a 3-day trip to Juneau from Bellingham.
But it's like a commuter ferry, like the Staten Island ferry. But if Staten Island was 3 days away from New York,
it doesn't look like a commuter ferry, but it is in effect a commuter ferry. It's quite a bit bigger.
Wow. But you had to
and it was
book a
awesome.
room.
Yeah, there's like you can sleep on the deck if you want. There's actually option to like just pitch a tent on the back deck, and you like duct tape your tent to the deck and sleep out in these like little tents. Or you can even go even more hardcore or less hardcore, depending on how you look at it. And there's just like deck passage where you sleep on these like reclining beach chairs. Underneath, they have like an overhang of like it's like a solarium or whatever, where they have heat lamps that come down at night. So
I was going to ask, what was the weather like on the trip?
Well, we got lucky when we went because it was mostly sunny, which was really nice because Juneau is one of the rainiest places in the country. And but the nice part is like the Maritime Highway goes up. It's like all interior waterways. So you're going up through fjords and whatnot. It's really beautiful. It's not like you're out on the open ocean. And there's a million like cruise ships that go up there too. Like that's how beautiful it is. It's like it draws enough cruise ships for like when we were in Juneau, there was like 4 cruise ships a day coming in.
You said it kept sending us pictures of like whales and just lake and mountains, and it was pretty beautiful.
It was like everything you hear about Alaska is like, oh, it's the last great frontier. It's so beautiful. And I didn't even go to like Alaska proper. I went to Southeast Alaska. Like there's a whole other huge, massive chunk of Alaska further north. But it is like one of the most crazy, beautiful places I've ever been. The waterways that you go through are just like mountains on every side. It's completely wild land for 3 days straight, basically. Wrangell was really beautiful. Petersburg was really beautiful. We stopped in these places for like an hour or two, whatever. But yeah, it was fun. But when we went up to Juneau, speaking of yachts, the big rumor was that J.K. Rowling's yacht was in the Juneau harbor because it was like a bunch of fishing boats and like tour boats and then this massive mega yacht. Everyone was like,
wait, what do we think J.K. Rowling named her boat?
I don't know.
Like the anti-woke boat or something?
Specto Patreon? I don't know.
Patrona.
Damn, that does rhyme, doesn't it? Anyway, should we read the email from P-Bone?
Yeah, P-Bone.
Okay, yeah, right. Sorry. P-Bone. Sorry. Thanks for your patience, P. Weird conglomerates. And Patrick writes, I own a Husqvarna chainsaw, arguably the best in the game.
Okay, flex.
I know. And Patrick says, I was shocked to learn one evening my wife's sewing machine is also a Husqvarna.
Wow. Chainsaws and sewing machines.
And then chainsaws and sewing
after.
machines. So he said, for the Zennial listeners, the older millennials, DK is right. We all learn to shave with the Bic disposable razors, the blue ones.
Yeah.
Bic your head.
The last thing I want to hear is people emailed in about Craig's urge to rebrand Meatloaf.
Yes.
I got actually a lot of emails and texts about the meatloaf thing.
So Gustavo emailed in and said, I wasn't sure if you wanted breakfast, which is a cup of coffee, or my favorite bad player, which was Dominic Rhodes.
I want breakfast.
Breakfast,
Dominic
cup of
Rhodes?
coffee.
Just a cup of coffee.
We asked for, all right, breakfast. We asked also maybe who's your favorite player that was not actually good.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Gustavo suggested Meat Sheet. Thought that was way worse.
Meat what?
Meat sheet?
Meat sheet. I thought that was bad.
Meat sheet?
Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay.
For meatloaf. Someone else suggested meat cake.
sheet.
What about
Meat
beef?
sheet.
What about beefcake?
David suggested
Beefcake.
beefcake.
That's like a double entendre right there.
Yeah.
Exact. David
I like
suggested, among others, beefcake, lumberjack loaf, lifter's loaf,
Ooh.
German meatball, beef bread, Bulker's bread, or reconstructed roast.
Bulker's bread.
Bulker's bread is funny.
Meat sheet. I'm stuck on meat sheet, so I think it actually does work.
Meat sheet?
Meat sheet. I don't like
Beef
meat
bake?
sheet. Beef
A
bake.
meat
Beefcake.
I like lumberjack loaf.
German meatball.
German meatball is easy. You throw German meatball on a menu, people order that.
I feel like it's like gold members, like
Lifter's
Bong
loaf.
Bulker's bread?
Reconstructed loaf.
Blitz at a bung?
Did people agree with me, though, that meatballs and meatloaf are kind of similar and that a good meatloaf is not that different than a good meatball?
Yeah.
Well,
It's
so
just a
Nick
different
answered
shape.
the question. Nick figured this out. Nick's email here.
Nicky.
End bone.
Nick says, I think the problem here. No, that's terrible. Nick says, I think the problem here is Heifetz is thinking like a traditional, like a Southern meatloaf with maybe barbecue sauce or ketchup.
Ketchup.
That's
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes,
my
that's
experience with meatloaf is like it has ketchup on
You
it, which is
troglodyte.
My mom's probably listening, and I'm sorry, Mom, but meatloaf sucks. She just puts ketchup on it,
It's like-
puts it in the oven.
I'm not hanging out with the pores.
Yeah. So Nick says, I grew up in an Italian household. My mom's meatloaf recipe is exactly the same as her meatballs, but low form. She would sometimes add sauce, mozzarella cheese. This is perfect. It's sometimes ricotta. This is it. My mom's meatballs are incredible. My mom's meatloaf sucks. They're not the same thing. And I'm realizing I get why you'd love meatloaf if it was the meatball recipe.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Well, just tell your mom next time, just make a bunch of meatballs and flatten
Yes.
them out. You're done.
So all this coming around to, here is how we rebrand meatloaf. We figured it out. Someone has the right name.
Okay.
It's Dan.
T-bone.
Danny.
The obvious rebrand for meatloaf is to just go Italian with the name.
Ooh.
The Italian word for loaf is
Mhm.
pagnata, pronounced roughly pagnata. Like a pagnata.
Mhm.
A beef pagnata sounds far better than meatloaf, and a nice restaurant could put it on the menu and feel
Beef
confident.
Have a nice
Pagnata.
pinata. Pinata is
Interesting.
easily
Beef
the winner.
pagnata.
Yeah.
I would argue you could even maybe get rid of beef. Just call it pagnata.
Just
Pagnata.
pinata. Don't call it beef. What's the Italian word for beef?
Don't know.
Oh, we should
Craig,
It's
you were just there.
probably should know that. Is it just beef? French is just beef.
I should know that.
Manzo? That seems wrong.
Manzo?
Monzo.
That's really
Manzo?
good, though, Dan.
Yeah.
Good job, D-Bone.
Dan just
Pagnata.
kind of crushed.
Carmine almost emailed in. Also, Carmine just
Carmine.
I take your food
Okay, we got
takes
to do
more
a Carmine.
seriously.
Carmy.
Carmi. Oh, I just started. I'm 4 episodes into the Bear, the new season.
I bailed halfway through season 3. I'm good.
Craig has
Come
washed
back,
his
guys,
hands.
come back
He's
season
washed
4,
his
it's
hands
better.
of,
I heard it's not
of the
good.
show.
Oh,
He's like,
well, don't tell
fucking
me.
done.
I'm good. I get it. They're in the
Anyway,
restaurant.
Carmi says his wife makes 4 mini meatloaves. I think mini panatas is the move.
Yeah.
Combine these mini panatas.
Meatloafs are
Small
too
meatloaf.
big. It's just too much
Yeah.
meat.
4 mini meatloafs?
Or
Are they
whatever
gonna be
size
like
you want, but it's like
bite-sized?
cupcakes instead of
Are
cake.
they like,
It's like
so they're like
yeah.
little beef brownies?
bingo.
Okay.
Panatas.
Beef brownies.
Should make them in a
Maybe we call them
Cupcake tin.
beefies.
beef cakes. Beef cupcakes.
Beefcake.
No.
Beef cupcakes, yeah.
All right. Anyway.
I just, yeah.
Can I admit something to you guys? I was debating doing this, but I'm like, you know what? I'm not afraid of my ignorant thoughts or just
Sure.
mental lapses, things I didn't realize. I did not know that the statue in Florence
From Goliath.
is David and Goliath. I did
Yeah.
not know that.
When
you
did
just
you
thought it
figure
was
it
a
out?
sexy
I
man
thought-
named
I-
David.
I did. I
When
thought
did
it was
you-
just in
like-
the fucking museum.
Like immediately? Like how
Yeah.
long into the museum were you there where you're like, oh, it's from
it was the
thing?
beginning of the tour, and our guy was like, David and Goliath. And I turned to Liz and I was like, David, this is from David and Goliath?
The New York financier?
Yeah.
Jeff Epstein?
Dave Goliath?
Jeff?
Yeah, I didn't know that. and I'm not afraid to admit that. I genuinely just thought it was like a guy named David.
I think that's fine. I thought you were
Yeah.
going to say you went through the entire museum and left and found out later.
I thought
Would
if
be
you, Craig, if you
incredible.
were going to say like you thought Michelangelo was a turtle that had been hit by
Sure.
sludge, toxic sludge,
Then we have a problem on our
yeah,
hands.
then we could talk.
Yeah, like I didn't realize the slingshot in his hand, which like you can't see super well, that would like the slingshot, the Goliath. I didn't know that. So
That's funny.
Yeah,
I like that.
If any other brave souls listening, if you didn't know it was David and Goliath, email me.
I think that's fine. I don't
Back
think.
him up.
I mean, I
Raise your
someone who
hand.
frequently defends himself for not having seen movies 30 years before I was born. I don't think you need to know about like the origin of a statue made 500 years ago. That's like 5,000 miles from where you live. That's okay.
Also, is it David?
If you had made it through the whole
the
thing, that would've been
Italians
funny.
call it David? Or like, what did Michelangelo actually call it?
Probably David.
Right.
That's my guess.
Yeah, right.
Well, I don't know. I'm just checking.
I don't know either.
They're like, yeah, it's like when you like don't understand a language and it's like Italian, David, and then Italian. David.
Italian, McDonald's. Italian.
Right.
Dude, that's kicking and screaming. Like, how do you say spaghetti in Italian?
Spaghetti.
Oh, how do you say pasta?
Spaghetti. No, I don't know.
This is easy.
I'm trying to find this out now.
What? How to say David?
How?
What do you look-
Yeah, I'm wondering if there's like because like the town like even like Florence, they don't call it Florence.
No, it's Firenze.
Firenze.
Firenze. I
Um,
learned that at Assassin's Creed, like everyone else.
Like we just fucking give them English names, you know?
Well, all names are just made up.
True. All words are made up, really.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it's closer to David.
All right. Thank you, DK. Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Kai. Thank you, Carlos. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is in the description. If you want to go to the New York Live show, Wednesday, 10 a.m. Eastern, theringer.com/events. We'll also have that link in the episode description. That's Wednesday, July 9th. It will go on sale for Tuesday, August 19th. That's enough plebs. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, Descendants, which is a show I just went to in Portland last
I thought you were
weekend.
going to say Oasis, but yeah.
Oasis, sure.
Cool.
Why not?
Descendants?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up with them?
So like just an old school punk band.
Nice.
I went to Punk in the Park in
You still
Portland.
got it, DK. Let me just say, you still got it.
I don't get, what is the difference between punk and rock and punk rock? Or is punk rock just short for punk rock? Is it a different thing?
Punk rock. It's just it's a philosophical difference. Punk is like, you're anti-establishment, and rock is the establishment.
Rock is the establishment.
I thought rock was originally anti-establishment.
This is why
rock
we get confused.
I think in the eyes of punk rockers, rock is the establishment.
Because rock started as the rebellion, but then became mainstream, and so punk rock is like what it's
also
like.
Punk rock
indie.
is just a different sound. It's like distorted guitars. There's some ska, in there, and it's just it's a totally different vibe. The genre is different.
Yeah.
So in Veep, when Jonah's like, these guys would never sell out. Like that's punk rock. Like if rock stars didn't sell out, that's the idea.
Right. I think generally, yeah. Like you have much more respect if you don't sell out and like join a big label or whatever. A lot of punk guys like NoFX started their own label and have like a lot of punk bands on.
Best punk bands are bands you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Right. I saw them live way before you ever heard of them.
I'm still interested in the idea that selling out went from the worst thing you could do to the American dream in like 12 years.
Mm-hmm. Like the goal now is to be like, God, if I can only sell Subway ads.
I know. Yeah. How do we get part of the small
literally
foot? Yeah.
anything? Yeah.
It's like, just pay me to eat the McRib. I'll do it. Which we will. We would eat the McRib.
Yeah. If anyone from
McDonald's.
McDonald's is listening,
Fucking delicious.
Because you can now watch us do that on our YouTube channel.
yeah,
Right.
this is what it's for.
Subscribe, and then if you subscribe, DK will eat a McRib on the next episode.
Sure.
Great.
I'll do it. I accept.
Italian, McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Italian. Tom Cruise. Italian.
Yeah.
Goodbye, everyone.